What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny and Silver and Absy for podcast number 464 of the Best Gaming Podcast. Thank you to everybody who joins, gets a chance to go to iTunes and Spotify and rates. I always forget to ask for that, but it super helps the channel. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're also all here, I think, the second time in a row.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Second time in a row, we're all here, and we're going to be talking about everything from Fallout and the oddities with that update that came out for across multiple platforms. Talk about Manor Lords doing insanely well, even in an early access state with all of those like early access things popping up and all of, so many problems with it. Or not problems, but missing stuff. It's nice to see that much love sort of surrounding a title, even though, I don't love early access. I've been looking at people just actually embracing the weird gameplay of that game because it is distinctly different from a lot of other games. So it's been very nice to see that. We're going to talk about Tarkov and whatever's going on with them. We're going to talk about Stalker 2 and the new trailer. I'll be looking at that, so you might see me off to the side looking at different things. First thing I want to do, I did promise you guys that occasionally, when I get a chance, we'll put super chats up and chats from Discord people that have posted something in. So grab this. Takes me a second to do this. Everything takes a second. This is from Stux. From Stux, the unique username. He says, how many games do you just jump into for a bit then bounce off of? I find it worse, actually, during Christmas, but it happens to me often. You guys bounce off of more games than you actually play? Because I do. I think my percentage is actually quite high for games I bounce off of versus games I dive into.
Same. Yeah, I would say it's a higher percentage than games that hook me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, because I also try a bunch of little games that I don't end up playing a shit ton. It's like an interesting concept, but I don't, it's not enough to grab me for 20 plus hours or whatever.
Right. Are these games that you guys are buying or games that you're like Game Pass or
mostly Game Pass?
Oh, okay.
I have a thing. Usually if a game had just released, it has more of a chance for me to be on it and playing it for a long time rather than like buying an old game on sale or something. Usually those are more prone to me bouncing off.
Yeah. It's absolutely, or it's also been, I'm prone to maybe purchase it and then sit on it for a while too. If for whatever reason it looks like something I like, I'll purchase it now versus, but I don't like wish lists and stuff because I just, once a wish list gets too big, it's just a list. It's like, you don't even, you don't even remember. What about you, Silver? Do you find yourself bouncing more, like testing games and bouncing off of them, or do you find yourself more just jumping into something that you already have investigated?
I think it's probably pretty rare that I like bounce off a game. I think for a couple of reasons, maybe that I tend to look at. I don't tend to just spontaneously go into games a lot. I tend to they'll catch my interest in some fashion, either with a game idea that I want to explore or an art style or whatever, something that hooks me in and maintains my level of interest, at least to some degree. And then maybe I'll bounce off like a certain portion into the game or something where I won't finish it. Like it is, I don't finish a lot of games these days, I will say. But I think it is rare for me to like go, no, this really isn't for me these days, and just like move on like fairly quickly.
Yeah, Stux, thanks for the question. Patron for almost 3 years. I appreciate it. First, he even said this is the first time he's ever asked a question. And I was like, dude.
Well, please give us more.
Yeah, like you can jump in. Or somebody was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to come into Discord because I have to talk to other people. I'm like, bro, that's the entire reason for the Discord. It is okay. You can talk to others. We're there for you. But we do have a blast. Speaking of the Discord, I want to thank everybody. Last night, we finally got another game, we tried to do gaming with Carrick. That didn't work so well. We tried ESO, and I got kicked out like 11 times of that game. But I got to say, ESO has not aged incredibly well in the character creator, man. No. I don't know what's going on there, but it looked like, baby's first play date. It was just weird. I was putting this guy together. And no matter how I zoomed in or zoomed out, the textures were all sort of muddy and stuff. Like, I guess I just remembered it better in, rose tinted glasses.
Most of the good MMOs I see are like that. The character creator doesn't really age that
probably
well.
because they need to make sure it's not super detailed for like LOD
Yeah.
issues, and
Raids.
stuff. But
Yeah.
But nobody in there understood what I was doing when I was creating my character, because they were like, why is he just making stuff up? I'm like, dude, you can't just create a character. You have to make up his backstory. My character's wife had cheated on him. He had changed his hair. He had listened to Eminem, put some Rastafarian dreads on. It was a Khajiit, of course. And
Of course.
it was like I did the entire background. And then suddenly, Ricky Tikki Tavi, as Kig said. Yeah, we had a blast. Everybody ended up making characters. Solar and Jay Reaper played. And the last thing I remember of that chat was everything got quiet and Solar goes, Jay, I just got to tell you something. You look horrible in character. And that was it. That was the last thing I heard before they stopped.
I'm just sad he didn't stick with the old man haircut, man. The bald spot.
He had
man.
the Hulk Hogan that, where the haircut looks like it's retreating, like the
Yeah,
French. It's
that's
just
the
all
best,
the way back
dude.
there.
Imagine
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just being
young
a god
people-
warrior like that.
Do young
Yeah.
people today still get that Ricky Tikki Tavi reference, or are we
They
just
did.
too old?
No,
Oh.
well, so Kig's about a decade plus a couple younger than me. And
Right.
I brought up Ricky Tikki Tavi, and about 9 people in the chat. There was about 12, but 9 knew what I meant. And then there's a
Right.
couple memes that are Ricky Tikki Tavi. And so I think it just over time they picked it up. But then we spent like an hour talking about the stories our parents had read to us, because that's how I learned about it.
Yeah, same here.
Is that how you? Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
good
well,
time.
not stories Paris went, but I think there was like an animated series cartoon or something.
I think
with
that's where the memes are coming
mongoose.
from.
Yeah.
By the way, the mongoose, yeah. And,
Yeah.
in fact, is the meme where the mongoose holds the fish and is doing this from that? There's a meme where he looks like he's
I
celebrating.
haven't seen the meme, so I can't.
Okay. I
answer
think
that.
it's from Ricky Tikki Tavi, but yeah, we had incredible time. Somebody, the turd says orcs are superior. Yeah, their half orc character in that game that I made was awesome. But we had a good time. We jumped in there and played games. I hope you guys played games this weekend or this week and are going to do it this weekend. What have we been playing? Speaking of, Silver, we'll go first with you. What's up, Everborn Saga? Thank you very much. Everybody should subscribe to his channel. Check his stuff out on Twitter. Go ahead, Silver.
Well, I mentioned to you before we started the podcast, I've gone back like 8 years to revisit a game I played in 2016, and I talked about a lot back then, called The Beginner's Guide, which is Davey Wreden's follow-up to Stanley Parable, which he made together with William Pugh. But Beginner's Guide was a solo effort, and really returning to it, I have to say it is what I think is a seminal game. It's one of the games I would say, if you have any interest in like game design or game narrative, it's a must play. It's only like 1.5 to 2 hours to play through it. And like Wreden is, to me, kind of gaming's version of Charlie Kaufman, the movie director, where he has this incredible talent for like breaking the fourth wall and using like games in a narrative, like game systems and mechanics interwoven with his narratives. That really in Beginner's Guide just is evolved into something that's absolutely incredible, like game that really that stayed with me for the 8 years since. And I think is quite powerful. Like I've also watched like streamers react to it over the years, and often with very profound, very deep reactions, because it resonates on a very deep level on themes of like creativity, relationships between art users and the artist, insecurity, creativity, like the need for appreciation, that I think also resonates with like a lot of streamers and content creators on YouTube. And really, the game to me is like one of the seminal examples of how video games can be art. So it's one I recommend everyone play. And like returning to it, these 8 years later, I was only reminded of it. And like the writing, like Davey Wreden narrates the entire game as himself, which is one of the amazing things about it. It's basically a collection of smaller games that he then narrates and takes you through the entire thing until the end. And the way it all sort of ties together, it's just it's incredible. I don't want to give any spoilers or anything other than say people should definitely try it out.
I always feel like I should never let Silver go first, because my example for a game I've been playing is like, we made a dude Ricky Tikki Tavi in a game. That's it. It's like, well, what about you?
So, I mean, that's
Johnny?
the great thing about the podcast, right? It
Well,
encompasses
yeah,
everything.
unless you go last and then you feel like an idiot. I'm just joking. Go ahead, Johnny. What have you been playing?
So this week I finished Final Fantasy VII after 110 hours. So that's a wrap. And today I started playing Stellar Blade. I've played for like a solid 3 hours.
Oh, damn. Okay, cool.
Good starting. And yeah, so far it's been a banger, but I'm still in the honeymoon phase, right?
Right. There's something really good about your explanation of it being the honeymoon phase for me.
Well, I'm always careful because I come in here all like, rainbows. I'm like playing for 3 hours a game. And then Carrick is like the war veteran. He's like, yes, child, I've played 60 hours of this video game.
Child?
Like,
okay, come on. I don't know if I've called you child
No, you
before.
don't do that. But yeah,
But
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, you like it after 3 hours? Wait till it's 40. And you're like, damn. But no, I do think that this speaks to you as a gamer. I think you'll end up really liking Stellar Blade.
Yeah, I like the combat. I did have to adjust a few things and certainly get the upgrades to make dodging and parrying easier. Because I did find those were, and they did say on purpose that it wasn't immediate. It was like a half second from when you press to when the animation goes off. They said that was deliberate, but it did feel like overall I had to almost preemptively
absolutely.
parry.
Yeah.
And then when I got those upgrades where it's a bit easier, then it became like, okay, this is, I can react to stuff.
What do you
learn stuff.
think about the skill list? I felt it was really generous. There's some locked. We won't talk about those for spoilers, but
yeah,
I feel like even the first 3 or 4 you start with, pretty generous skill list overall.
Yeah, I really like the different combos with the basic attacks. They're very distinct. So, it's not spamming, if that makes sense. So the difference between like square, triangle, and square, triangle, all of those, those are quite different. And you kind of have to, you learn like, oh, I have a big opening, I'm going to go for that combo. Or I have a small one, I got this short trade combo that I like. And it takes a bit of time for sure, because there's so many of them.
My last
I did
question
enjoy
for
that.
you is, I don't know if you're aware of this, because a lot of people don't do this in their combo game, but I don't know if you're aware you can buffer in moves. Did you already try that?
Buffer?
So you can go square, triangle, and before the character's even started to move. And they'll do
I see what you mean. And so it will still work.
Right, but the cancellation is at the starting of the move, so the animation fills front. So let's say she's flipping, you're on move 3. You've gone square, triangle, or rolled your fingers. She does one move, second move, and as she goes to the third move, that's when you can hit block or parry. And the animation of her doing the third move switches seamlessly into block or parry, which is why I think they're hedging on having a little bit, they've quickened it up a bit by having a little bit of a buffer time, because the animation, it's hard to describe, but like when there's one where she spins around, and as she spins around, she's going to hit this way, but if you hit parry, she goes like and puts it, and it looks like a movie.
Winds back.
I guess.
So because you can cancel any combo, right, with the dodge and the
you can, but
block,
those have to be done during the. You can't cancel when the move is initiated. You can only cancel in the blocks between the buttons. That's why you enter them, or the blocks between the animations. So you can hit all the buttons and let her go, and then on the third one, when you see that an attack's coming, you can be like block, and she'll go like 1, 2, 3, block, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just want you to try it out when you get a chance, because I think you might like the mix-up. It feels almost like two systems at work. What about you, Abzi? What have you been playing?
I'm playing mostly single-player Tarkov, but now I got to make the distinction that it's the single-player Tarkov mod made by modders for free, and not the half-assed, lazy-ass version that they released for $250.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that too in the news section. Yeah. So the single-player Tarkov, and then anything else?
Yeah, Tale of Two Wastelands, Fallout, here and there.
Tale of Two. Oh, that's the 1 or 2 or 3
in New Vegas.
New Vegas mixed.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Johnny
I
had to
just
go for a second.
eradicated a whole fire ant nest, and it was pretty stressful and crazy, especially with the
Yeah.
survival mods and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I was surprised because I think for the longest time, 3 and New Vegas have always had their own separate issues. So the idea that a modder comes out and is like, you know what, I'm going to merge these. I guess I just always assumed it'd be a disaster. Just because
And it works well together.
Yeah, from what I understand from you, it seems like it's actually working and there's no real issues, which just, again, I mean, I'm obviously not saying all modders are amazing and all main developers are terrible, but the idea that a guy can merge 2 games together is pretty different.
It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. And Wubbajack has been a huge help. You know, you just 500 mods, and I, click of a button, couple steps, around 15-30 minutes, and you're good to go for a whole mod list. Yeah.
Next up, another question. Thank you again for the people who are sending these in. XTC, you're all such different ages, it seems. Does that cause issues in the podcast? 3-year patron here and love the shirt. First of all, thank God you got the shirt, because I think Absy, Spetsu finally got his, but Absy's got his, some dude in the Canadian border. And then it'll finally get to where you used to live, and they'll be like,
yeah, where's the guy? Yeah.
Where's the guy?
Yeah.
Does it cause, no, I mean, it hasn't caused issues
here.
Yeah. It hasn't caused issues in the podcast. It's actually just made it so that you get different, as long as everybody's open to it. You like I haven't really seen it do anything other than add, because you guys have different experiences with some games that I just wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
And it seems like the same vice versa. So yeah, it's really been helpful. I think the only thing is we're all really immature and stupid at heart, so that helps.
True.
That's it.
Very true.
It mows down any highfalutin bits that might show up in the podcast to a common lower level gradient. But thank you very much for asking. We appreciate it, and appreciate you being a patron. I'm looking here. People are talking about, have we talked about Tarkov or Fallout? No, we haven't. I love the games. Don't worry. We waited for you, and you only. So I appreciate you showing up. Stellar Blade, people are playing Stellar Blade. I'll play Stellar Blade some more. Stellar Blade. Some people still playing Baldur's Gate 3. I would say Baldur's Gate 3, and this is not a lie, outside of MMOs, must be very close to the highest played single-player game, other than maybe a Tarkov single-player stuff. Like, I feel like Baldur's Gate's time for play is insanity. I mean, even
especially if you're a fan of seeing multiple choices and endings where they go. Yeah. Which I'm not like a bit big on. I like the idea of choices. For me is that I like that there is a tailored experience for me, but I don't care to see all the content. Does that make sense? I just like knowing that the choices that I made led me to where I am, basically.
Dude,
I don't need to see them. But knowing they're there is awesome. Go ahead, John.
I found out the other day there's the opposite. Some people have anxiety of not seeing all the content.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I have a friend like that where it's like, oh, it's a choice-based game. I don't, I'm only going to see 50% of the content. I'm not a fan. Yeah, I've heard that before, for sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you worry a little bit? That might cause the person to not jump into a really cool game just because they're worried they can't get it all.
Absolutely.
That sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
Persona 5. Persona 5's the highest. Yeah, Persona 5 would be one of Reg's. Final Fantasy 14 for Kig. Longest is AC Valhalla, 113 hours. The third turd says, I like seeing the possible variants of what can happen with any choice. Nelson says, been playing Rainbow Six Siege since release. Currently year 9. Year 9, guys. That's insanity, man. That is absolute insanity. The first thing I do want to talk about, so that we can get the first little bit out of the way or whatever, is Fallout. So the Fallout updates rolled out first for Xbox, and then I think there was something with PlayStation. I didn't really track exactly what the issue on the PlayStation side was, because I honestly didn't track the Xbox issues either until later. So I just sort of bounced into this and found out that while it did change some stuff, it definitely broke a bunch and then added some new bugs. There was a widescreen issue where they stretched the HUD. I was expecting that. I mean, it's happened with official games before. It sort of sucks, but disappointment is sort of what I meant. I was expecting disappointment. That's pretty much it. But so they updated it. You went into it, Abzy. Most of the
Crashed.
Discord did. What'd you say?
Crashed, and then I just stopped. I just uninstalled.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, everybody else in the Discords in the chat last night didn't have any crashes, but they were also mostly playing the Series X version, or the
on console for sure. You get a frame rate increase and all that good stuff. Quality mode, performance mode.
PC's
on PC,
right?
Just PC, it was like, okay, no more script extender, no more mods, and that's it. I don't know, man. I don't know. Apparently,
it was
added
a
couple of
D-patch,
issues.
maybe? Was it a D-patch?
D-patch. It was a D-patcher, yeah. Just
yeah. I've heard that there was a problem with the quality and the performance mode as well, that you couldn't turn off performance mode, I guess. It was all and it was weird because Jay Reaper, who isn't really frame rate sensitive, kept telling me in the chat, he's like, something feels weird. I switch between the two and it feels about the same. So I guess, and I was like, well, look in this corner, check this, look here, see if you can see a resolution drop or bump. And he was like, maybe something, but now we're hearing that, for example, Thomas Morgan from Digital Foundry said, I can confirm that only 60 FPS performance works right now. The update has a bug. Disabling performance mode does nothing. It stays at 60 FPS, and the res is bound to the same. Now, most people wanted 60 FPS, so maybe people won't notice it as much, but 60 FPS was nice. And then Abzy also said he tried to go above 60, and you still got the physics bug.
Yeah, I capped it though at 60. So what happened was I went in, and for some reason the built-in VSync they have just gives me a lot of input lag. I just cannot play with a mouse and keyboard. So I had to go to the NVIDIA settings and turn that off manually. And then after that, I tried the game again, and it ran at my refresh rate, so around 144 hertz. It wasn't like as big as, older Bethesda games where you just see everyone going fucking crazy and you're running fast as shit, right?
Right.
It was a little stuff where you can see animations breaking, and you can see people are done talking before they're actually done in the voice acting. So like the actual track wouldn't finish before they start their second sentence. So they'd cut themselves off a lot. So I had to go back and limit it at 60 FPS. And then I was like, fine, I'll just go with that. I'm okay with that. And then the game crashed. It crashed my whole NVIDIA thing though, my NVIDIA control panel, and gave me an NVLDDK error. So it's like, well, I'll just uninstall.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because those people who want to return to it, if they're just getting more crap. I mean, honestly, it's also an old game, so I'm assuming maybe something in NVIDIA is weird and doesn't like it.
I was excited for just a vanilla, because I've done so many mods.
I know, I remember you saying that.
I just wanted to do like a complete vanilla experience, go to Far Harbor. I was excited for it, yeah.
What about you, Silver? Have you tested these, touched them, gonna?
Nope.
Good answer. Johnny?
No, I did hear about people having crashes and stuff, and I don't know about you guys, but my tolerance for that type of stuff now is pretty low, because there's so many games I want to play. I told you guys, I actually forgot to say it today, but I told you I was playing Pacific Drive this week. There's so many, amazing games I'm enjoying that it's really hard for me to say I'm going to jump back into Fallout 4. Especially with people having.
Hey man, good thing you have a Magic PC though, so you're.
Well, I also don't try my luck too much, like with that type of stuff. Like,
that is true. You're not I don't hear you many times talking about your settings a touch. You're not editing INI files and shit to get one extra LOD on person's face 60 miles away.
Oh no,
that's true. I hadn't really thought about that, Johnny. But when we do talk, that's something you and I rarely discuss. Is like jumping, other than maybe turning off blur or bloom.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
dial in the options for sure, but I'm not like modding too much, certainly, or min-maxing.
The issue as well is that even though it didn't do much on PC, it changed so much of the code base that now mods are going to be split, just like Skyrim Anniversary Edition, where the script extender there's going to be a new version of script extender for that, and that's going to be separate from the other stuff because so much of the code base changed, and it's just updating those mods is going to be way more complicated than.
Welcome to Fallout VR.
Dude,
that's how I feel.
So it kind of sounds like it hurt the game more than
Yeah.
No,
certainly.
helped
because
in a
way more
certain
people
way.
jumped in. It's like, and
Well,
it's an
yeah,
older
on
game.
console
I mean,
players are going to be
Okay,
more.
you just,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
and a lot of people who watch the shows who aren't huge into Fallout or maybe gaming definitely jumped in. So
And it will return. I just found out from one of our Discord people, he's a modder, small script mods. He's jumping back into modding just to make sure his work. So there is
Yeah.
this cool
Okay.
knock-on effect where the excitement of fixing. So let's be honest, man. There's an excitement if you're a builder of trying
Yeah,
to work through
you're
your,
a tinkerer.
you're a tinkerer.
Yeah.
So there'll be that. That's not a positive or negative thing. It's just something I noticed when he's like, yeah, I'm jumping back in. I'm gonna mess around and
yeah.
So. All right. Well, those are our ideas for Fallout, or at least what we've experienced. When I asked everybody if they are, or what did I ask everybody? Asked everybody what they
if
were
you're jumping
playing.
into Fallout, or
You're jumping into
Oh, okay,
Fallout,
okay.
I think. No, I said, what's your longest played game? Sorry, I forgot about that.
Gotcha.
We got so busy jumping in it.
Starfield, 1,300
Dawn
hours.
says,
God
happy
damn.
with modded.
Whoa.
Happy with modded Fallout. What'd you say? Starfield? I missed that one.
Whale says one
Mhm.
said Starfield about 1,300 hours and Skyrim Fallout thousands.
Yeah.
Bethesda enjoyers, man, they have insane hours. It's like an MMO for them going into those worlds. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the thing, is that it can burn some Bethesda enjoyers for sure, but at the same time,
Basil's chiming in.
what'd you
There's
say?
still something. Sorry.
Basil's chiming in, I think, from Johnny.
Did you hear? Yeah, he wants to be let out. by chat.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I was just gonna. That's funny. Yeah, I didn't hear that. I was just gonna say that what happens is people who are jumping into, luckily they might find, especially on console, they might find something that they like, and now they're jumping back into a game that I personally don't think it looks terrible. It does look really old. It's got a cool art aesthetic that is from the show, so those people can jump into it and enjoy it there. But
And I know
I hope
they
we
get a
get it
lot of
fixed.
flack and stuff, but like just I realized when playing Fallout 3, there's something that they have that a lot of companies don't really do. And for example, I killed a random girl in a house that I had to go do a quest to. Like it's like a debt collecting quest in Fallout 3, and I killed this lady. And I just took over her house. I put my food in the fridge. I put my meds in the little med case she has there. I organized my weapons in her like little wardrobe, and they just stay there forever, and her body just stays there forever. So that just not a lot of games really do, and there's something magical about it,
One fix they did make, or apparently have made, and I don't think anybody will know if it's 100% fixed or not, is they did go in to fix so that bases didn't bloat your save games anymore. Because you were talking about moving things, and that means a memory pointer to every new location.
Yep. Yeah.
And that is one thing Bethesda just does that no other company does. I want them to switch to a new engine as well, but I don't want to get rid of whatever system they have going on, because that's one of my favorite things, is that there isn't ownership of something in those games. You can just walk in and you can be like, this is my house, and I'm going to adventure out of this thing. Yeah.
Good. There is, but I also think it also has a side effect where it can be harmful in that it can help make the world feel static rather than one that evolves, and like time is standing still more so than progressing.
Could, but there's not a lot of games that do that by themselves, and they don't even have what Bethesda has. So it's like,
I think that issue is like separate from the object permanence. I think they can make it more dynamic by having, for example, let's say you wiped out a whole city or whatever, having new people move in and stuff that are already in the world persistently. That would be cool.
Yeah, I would agree with the static thing, especially if you drop you drop something in a bathtub, it's always there. There's no other adventures, stealing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's also not like the bodies decompose or anything.
Yeah.
Like they're...
Sure.
Well, I sort of like that, because I sort of like my bodies on the floor.
Just on the floor forever.
Bodies on the floor.
And
Brandon
you can move
Martin,
them, right? So you can pile them up.
Yeah, and you can move them so you can pile. Yeah, you can pile them up, or like psyops, kick them around. Brandon Martin is a member for 2 months. Thank you for being a YouTube member. I absolutely appreciate it. It does help the channel. Do you guys have a budget for gaming? I'm a college student. I work part-time. Got to have a budget. Game Pass helps, and Microsoft Rewards, which I admit, man, thanks to Jay Reaper for consistently. Yes, and Jay's reminded me a couple times. I got movies off of it, because I have a lot of rewards as a reviewer that I wasn't aware of, and I went into the Microsoft Rewards and I was like, "Is that a lot?" People are like, "That's insane! Like you could buy like a car, yeah." So you can Yeah, you can use those, but I mean Game Pass as well. We all have a budget, right? I mean, I think all of us have a budget
Mine
of
is
some
a
kind,
little
don't
bit
we?
fluid. You know what I mean?
But I mean,
Mine's
it's
a
still
bit
a
fluid.
budget. Like you would, like if you found yourself
Like,
spending
yeah.
$400
Like I wouldn't
in a
spend
month.
$250 on an expansion, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I budget pretty much everything quite carefully.
Mhm.
So I have like a limit on, what I'm going to spend on groceries, on what I'm going to spend on subscription services like Netflix or whatever. But games is the one that is sort of open. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're saying, there are some limits
It's very
where
volatile.
yeah, but it will be like, dude, I already bought like 2 full price games this month. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah. Maybe I
ease
should
off the
chill.
gas. Yeah.
For sure.
So
I don't really have
thank
like
you.
a specific budget for gaming.
Mhm.
Like it's more like it falls under like entertainment generally. So like movies and stuff and streaming services and stuff are going to fall under the same.
they all sort of eat into it. I would say
Like,
that's
in
mine.
the same part of that budget as well. Yeah. And then I'll make compromises like, oh, I want to buy these graphic novels this month, so I'll buy a fewer games, or oh, I really want these games this month, so I'll buy less books, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
I think that's fair. Next up for a super chat from a Discord person. Let me get this. Hopefully this shows and doesn't become too huge on the screen. Boom. Well, it's pretty big. Covers Little Silver's face. I apologize. I'll get through it quick. Knucklehead
I'm sure
says,
it's a
how many
sacrifice people can
unreleased...
live with.
Yeah, barely, though. How many unreleased and or leaked songs that there are out there by various artists? What percentage do you guys think are AI generated rather than from the actual artist? If the percentage was large, would that be in... would there be any real way to know, or is it all up to conjecture at this point? Just a shower thought. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Currently? I don't know. Currently. And we
Like
know
how much
there's-
of it is it plagiarized? Like how much?
he's really saying how much of it is like, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's been a couple things where somebody said, this is a B-side from an old band, blah, blah, blah. And I think those are probably, some of those are AI. But I think currently trying to do a Taylor Swift album probably is beyond the capabilities even of the new one I tested. It seems like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
If the
think in
percentage was
general,
large.
establishing ownership and rights, that's all like
Up in the
its
air.
infancy and up in the air. Yeah, even like, the video stuff that we've started seeing by, what was that? The new engine that's not out yet for
Yeah.
for
Yeah, I
the
know what you're
public,
talking
but
about.
you know, they did some videos there, like stuff that comes out would also be very, you could impersonate people.
Yeah.
You could have like Joe Biden talking about, I don't know, Call of Duty or something,
Mhm.
like you can make some pretty crazy stuff. So I think
Also
that's going to be a good area of study to figure out how you can watermark something to say,
Absolutely.
that's authentic or whatever.
What
It
were you
also
gonna
raises
say,
a lot of philosophical questions about kind of is using data as, let's say, inspiration to make something new, like using data that's already there to make something new. We know humans do it, but they do it through their mind. But with AI, there's actual steps that are being taken where it's like it is something that analyzes data and that makes its own thing, right? So there's a question there to be asked, is if that's any different, or where do we draw the line? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I will say this. I made a song or a couple with this last music, the one that got released last week, and I've listened to it more times than I have any official band. And that's, I think, a little worrisome,
Yeah.
just worrisome.
for
I
sure.
don't mean like I just mean interesting. It can catch your ear the same way, a generic song is. The other thing is people say, oh, they can't match the emotion. And I've listened to a lot of songs with no emotion from real people.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I mean, that's the thing, is different talent levels, right? It's up in the air. I don't want to be, I wish I was involved in it, because I think there's a lot of money in watermarking and figuring out ways to try. There's probably a lot of money in,
For sure.
making sure artists are protected so that their stuff isn't taken. But at the same time, we don't randomly pretend that it's not acceptable to crib from other people's stuff and figure it out, and which is what we do as artists anyway. I mean, That's all how I learned how to paint, was to copy other people. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's up in the air. So it's a good thought process, and I appreciate the question, but I think you just asked the stupidest people on a podcast that question. I'm just joking. We're not stupid.
Hey man, what the hell?
Well
dude?
beyond us.
Yeah, but there is, I think, I think one of the main philosophical question there that Apsy sort of touched on is the difference between inspiration and regurgitation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which exists in the human market too, though. That's the problem.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Unquestionably, there are also human beings who regurgitate, but the point being that that's basically all the algorithm does. The algorithm is only capable of regurgitating, of disseminating information and then ejecting it.
Mm-hmm.
My sincere question to that would be, is that truly any different than a person who listens to a bunch of stuff in their youth like myself and makes music? I am also regurgitating that stuff. I don't see it.
No, you're not just regurgitating it, because you're also then coloring it through the prism of your own life experience up until that point, and everything else that you've absorbed through cultural osmosis.
I think that you have an extraordinary love for humanity that I do not have.
And I think in a way too, like,
no, I'm not. I'm saying you do. I see a lot. Yeah. I see a lot of let's throw down a beat with a beat maker, and pop some synth on there, and
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
they
that
catch on really big, and I just
for sure. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that that's the ceiling for the algorithm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. AI is pretty crazy now.
Yeah, I think
maybe now you're right. Maybe now, right now.
Yeah, maybe right now. But that is actually one of the things AI is or will continually be better at doing, is taking the inspiration, but then putting more stuff on top and finding stuff that works.
Yeah, but it's still just an algorithm. It's still just the data collection and then the regurgitation. It's still that same dynamic. It just becomes increasingly advanced.
I mean, that's a person aging.
It's the human factor. It's the human factor. It's like someone. It's sentience that makes the difference there. Where, you know what I mean? It's always going to be based on data. Yeah.
I mean, that's humans.
Even if it's
I just don't see the difference.
Yeah. It's very hard question.
Or it'll be to the point to where we won't be able to, I guess,
Sure.
like maybe.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, sure, it's not sentient and you can draw the line there. But at the end of the day, when the result becomes good or better than what we can do, it's like, does it matter that it wasn't sentient or that it followed a, programmatic? It matters
for the morality of it, like just these questions,
I don't think it matters for like
where the lines are.
I don't necessarily even think it's a moral question. I think it's also a question of
a legal question.
Well,
too.
Yeah, I mean, you said
it's for sure legal.
When it's better. I mean, I think that touches on the question of what do you enjoy about music? Is it just a clear pitch? Because you can be a pitch perfect singer, and to me, still not resonate with me. Whereas you can have
that finesse.
You can have somewhat off key or something, and you can still like affect me profoundly with the way either you deliver or something, or you perform or execute in a way that resonates with me on a personal level.
And there are things like music that was recorded off tempo. You listen to some Jimi Hendrix. He didn't use any tempo match tracking, so it's all over the place. But
auto-tune as well, right?
What do you mean with auto-tune?
I mean, autotune as used as a sort of like clean out flaws and
no. Johnny's saying exactly the opposite. That Jimi Hendrix didn't. He all over the place. That's he's trying to get to the spirit of it.
To the Hendrix point specifically. It was just to the point of.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I was thinking that part of the human thing, imperfection.
Yeah.
It's probably harder to replicate.
Well, it's
on the AI.
Well, the imperfection itself, I can replicate in Ableton with some systems there, like
you can,
and you can change the randomness of gravity of balls that are hitting the keyboard and do some wild stuff that make it sound like it has an element of imperfection there. So they've been getting really,
Listen,
really
no
good
one's
at.
gonna match "Pour Some Sugar on Me" from Def Leppard. So until they can match my favorite song, it's not gonna happen. Moving on from there, because I know everybody doesn't want to talk about AI. To me, it is very interesting to figure out exactly where we're going, but I think we all can't really answer too much, at least right now. I do want to point out that Nick had just DM'd me and said, I just added your podcast to Fallout Radio. Thank you very much. Yeah, Fallout Radio is pretty cool. The radio mods for Fallout and those games where you can go ahead and add, different soundtracks, different music.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
he said he added and he's been listening, and that's the quickest
Nice.
way to burn yourself out. I'm just saying, you probably quite quickly
Yeah,
are going to be
we're
like,
gonna color your
It's
wasteland
3 Dog.
journey.
yeah. At
in a
some
weird
point, he's
way.
all, wow, I don't ever need to listen to these guys again. The next is a super chat. Should go up. There we go. A super chat from Walsey1, $20 super chat. Glad to watch a live show. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Let's move on from there because I think there's just not much we can do with it. Let's talk a little bit about Tarkov. So, what is the issue with Tarkov? Let's break it down before we lose our minds.
Let's start from a little bit from the beginning here. A lot of back in 2015, 2016, when the first trailer came out, people were very interested in this game because it was a kind of a new idea. Looked very, very good, and it was made by a company that was kind of new. Nobody really heard of Battlestate Games before that. This random Russian company. And with every company like that, where they want to remain individual, they're indie. You have this sense of, hey man, this is my next door neighbor. This is the local. I'm buying local right here. Indie can never go wrong. They can never go corrupt. Indie means good. AAA means bad. Indie can never go wrong. You know what I mean? So they had kind of a press panel thing back in around 2016, 2017, before the pre-alpha stage, before people can really play. And the head honcho, Nikita, was basically explaining. He's kind of those visionaries, kind of like Sven from Baldur's Gate, from Larian, right? Where they want to make their own company, they have the funds, they want to remain individual so that they could see their vision through to the end. You know what I mean? So one of the biggest things talked about, and it was in the age around loot boxes were coming out, creation kit, all those things were coming, and his thing was there's going to be no microtransactions in this game. It's going to be, we want to do the game we want to make, no microtransactions, all that stuff. So the game released with different editions. Okay, these are founder editions. You know how in Kickstarter you could be a founder, but you could be an even better founder and you get some more goodies with it. Basically, that's what happened. There were a couple starter packs. It ranged from around $40-$50, and the highest tier was $150, and that was the Edge of Darkness edition. Right now, the Edge of Darkness edition has extra stash space and among some other stuff. And at the time, people were discussing if it was pay to win. Is having extra stash space in Tarkov pay to win? And it's a very interesting discussion because pay to win is a very, very wide kind of set of things. Right. So pay to win doesn't necessarily mean that, hey, I'm gonna have a clear advantage where I'm going to be able to kill you. One of the best things about Tarkov is that no matter what level you are, let's say you're starting the game at level 1 and there's like a level 80 person with like the best gear in the world, you can still shoot them in the head and they will still die. Everything in Tarkov is revolved basically around chances of dying and chances of not. A lot of RNG, a lot of formulas, a lot of systems. What bullet type are you using? The penetration, the armor, the helmet you're wearing, the headphones you're wearing, so if you can hear larger ranges or not. All of these things contribute to whether you're going to die or win in the raid, but none of those are like a clear advantage. For example, I played the Cycle Frontier, one of the extraction games that came out, and it would have like purple armor where if you have white armor, you're just fucked. You're just going to die. You know what I mean? So there's nothing like that in Tarkov. So now pay to win is much larger than just, hey, this is aimbot, I'm going to kill the person, right? So now you can argue, okay, is stash space pay to win? Is having bigger pockets pay to win? Is, getting more equipment pay to win? Because all of those are giving you some tangible advantage for you to win in those raids, in those games.
And you could also probably say then that even if it's just a minor thing, then accumulating those minor things over time
exactly
might eventually accumulate into a bigger advantage, right?
For sure. Now, the thing is, when those released back in 2017 or whatever, you can still earn these stash spaces in game. You can still build up to it. You can still earn like the containers and what have you. Okay. So people weren't that bothered by it. And they came into it with like, okay, these are founders editions. They're limited. Edge of Darkness is limited. I'm going to be the top payer. I'm a founder. I'm helping them fund the game. I'm giving them the most money at the promise. They're selling you on a promise. They're not selling you a product. They're selling you a promise that the game will come out. And because you are the top tier founder, you are going to have access to every single thing that comes out for the game, any subsequent DLC that comes for the game. Because I'm one of the founders that got in the beginning in this limited edition. Now, fast forward to about like 2020, 2021. I think maybe last year they kind of stopped selling the limited edition. You know, it was limited, so they stopped. It ended, and then they introduced some microtransactions. That's when they first introduced microtransactions. There's a whole thing that came out first called Tarkov Arena. They put a lot of their resources into this kind of deathmatch shooter side game, right? Which was only available to Edge of Darkness players, but people could pay like $30 extra to get in earlier. So there was some stuff there, you know what I mean? Some weirdness there. However, the community, they have such a strong community, and a lot of their community defends them. And the game is based around, you know, that the company and the community interacting. So when there's no interaction, there's like something missing there. It's like a very, very cult following. Even though it's larger than most cult followings, it's still a cult following. And that's very, very important because they're the people funding your game to finish. The game is not out yet. And now 2 days ago, or I think yesterday, sorry, was it yesterday? Holy shit, it's been a wild day.
I feel like
on
it was
Thursday,
yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, they showed that there's going to be a new edition called the Unheard of edition. The Unheard edition.
Which is what their fans feel like right now, right? Perfect name. Unheard.
So yes. So if you have Edge of Darkness edition, if you paid $150 to become one of the forefathers, one of the first founders of the game, you got to pay an extra $100 for unique new things in the game that will give you advantages over other players, including, but not limited to, bigger pockets. Okay. A item. Okay. This is very, very funny. Okay. There's an item, a radioelectric item called Mark of the Unheard. Okay. And what you can do, distress signal device. And what you can do with that is call in your friends to the raid, like fucking helldivers. Charlie, Beta, come in. There's a guy in check 15. We got to go kill him. All four of us, you know, and they all just come rushing in because you paid $250 for this edition. There's things like Mark of the Unheard, which make AI scavs not shoot you over 60 meters away. And a bunch of like extra money and weapons and ammo. And last but not least, a guaranteed access, a new game mode, which is co-op, PvE, full progression. It's just the game, but co-op against bots. And that is not available for the original limited edition founders who paid $150 for the game. So this edition costs $250 and gives you a lot of shit that I would say is basically pay to win. No, it won't let you magically be an aim god and kill everybody and completely win fights, but it will give you clear advantages over other players. So, and unique game modes that are not available.
Just so I understand, it's $250, like dead ass, that's the price, or is it a bunch of stuff together?
$250 dead ass.
That's the edition?
That's the edition, $250. Yes. Yes. So now one of the biggest complaints is, you know, Edge of Darkness owners, you know, we deserve to just get those DLC. As you said, we are going to have access to all the DLC, all unique game modes. And they just, you know what they tweeted yesterday, actually? They tweeted, PvE mode is a unique feature which is available only for the owners of the Unheard edition. We will keep you updated on new features exclusive for EOD owners. One of their head community managers was like, it's a unique feature. It's not a DLC. They got community noted and they said new game modes are generally accepted as DLC put behind a paywall. So they're trying to wiggle their way out of it. Today, they released this whole thing where it's like, to honor the owners of EOD, you'll have access to this game mode for 6 months. It's very fucking weird. They're just doubling down on this, and I don't know This is worse than anything I've ever seen Ubisoft or EA even do, okay? This is worse than a lot of things that any AAA, and this is not a AAA company, this is an indie company, all right? This is an indie company. This is individual. They have no fiduciary responsibility, no, stakeholders telling them what to do, and nope, that's just them. And I'm pissed. I'm really pissed. I am pissed. I'm one of those Edge of Darkness owners, and I am pissed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even actually get it unless there's a financial problem they're not talking about. And they're, instead of talking about it and maybe, trying to work on it that way, they randomly drop this and the slight adjustment of words. Oh, this is a mode or what have you. So therefore, it's not for the $150 owner. I mean, I feel like the $150 guys have already put in their bread. Like there's no real reason to be adding in another $100 on top of that, and you can't
before
upgrade.
The game's out, Garrick.
Right?
The game isn't even out. The original promise of 1.0 isn't out.
You can
this
upgrade
is a beta.
to the $100 to the $250.
Yeah, I can pay an extra $100 to upgrade.
It's a little bit like Ark back in the day, right?
I unfortunately don't
Didn't
remember
Ark do
what
a somewhat similar thing? Just not that price like to that extent.
Probably
they did DLC before like the full release. So I guess it's similar. Yeah.
So there's a lot of streamers right now not even playing Tarkov. They're not buying the new edition. I'm not buying it, certainly. I'm playing a single player mod, and hopefully they don't go after those guys, because yesterday they just took the Nexus mod page down. So
oh boy.
and their PvE mode, the Battlestate games. And their PvE mode is just so much worse than what we have in the mod. It's the laziest implementation of it.
Not good.
Not good at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only answer. It's so out there that I'm constantly looking at behind the scenes stuff, but all the usual rigmarole of like, oh, it must be investors, blah, blah, blah. That's always been wrong. It's like that can cause it, but you don't need those to have people doing bullshit. Like you never have.
No.
It's almost stunning because I still read it yesterday, and I read pretty much that's almost word for word what we've been hearing about that when I read the 2 articles on it today. And I just don't understand unless they're ransomwared, right? Or something, you know what I mean? I mean, because it's such a huge amount.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, is there a blackmail?
They were beloved, Carrick. They were a beloved company.
I know.
They're these indie savior company. And the worst part about it is that they have a monopoly. There is nothing in the market like Tarkov. All the extraction shooters that have come and gone, nothing really reached the level or of uniqueness with the movement, with the gunplay, with the looting and everything. They have a monopoly on this game, and people love this game because it's a really good game. It has its issues, but it is a really good game.
I mean, not to be rude too, the idea of $100 in any avenue means always a bunch of extras and a full game. Like it's a new thing. Like, at this point, they should have. I'm not saying they should do this. I'm saying it would have made more sense to roll out a mini 1.0 and then split off and say, oh, we're split off our development team, and there's another version of Tarkov that's this, and it would still piss people off, but it would be
better. There's so many ways they could have handled it, man. People wanted cosmetics. Let me buy a skin for my weapon, a skin for this mod weapon, whatever. There's so many ways you could do this if you want more funding.
And they don't have those?
Have a donate page. They do not. They have a little bit of cosmetics and stuff. They just introduced extra stash space and cosmetics, and but this is
have
wild
a donate page or something and see how that works versus. I mean,
maybe they looked at like how Cloud Imperium has handled some of the the higher tiers of the packs you can buy for like Star Citizen, that are ones that are like 15,000 and what is it, $25,000?
But they're all in the same game and they're used in all modes. This is splitting it and saying only some get it.
That's true.
It's.
But like, maybe that was a loose inspiration for we can maybe get in on some of that. I don't know. And
it could be
any publicity is good publicity.
Well,
we can weather the storm or whatever.
I mean,
That's a
Unity,
good
I mean,
Unity destroyed themselves.
Any publicity is good publicity until it isn't. Like
Exactly. It's always good until it's not, and then you're like,
It's also the fact that you don't necessarily need more publicity when you have this amount. Prior to this, they had an incredible amount of good faith from the player base. 100%. So this reminds me of Dota 2, which was free, right? It's a free game.
Yeah.
People were so bought into it. They loved the game for what it was that they happily paid for cosmetic packs because it also went towards the prize pool of the international competition. Blah blah blah.
They were very smart about it. Yeah, very smart about it. Yeah.
They funded those millions organically just from people buying cosmetics, right? Amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
We have many track record examples of this type of strategy where once you have this bought in audience, good faith, what you do is you just offer these optional things like cosmetics and things for people to enjoy the game they already love more. That's like the proven way to benefit from that good faith. This is the opposite. This is like taking advantage of that good faith.
Yeah, taking advantage is a good way to put it.
Yeah,
it's not only that. I just want to point out it's also the reason why it's even more egregious to me is that it's not even in a price point that is generally close to being accepted by anybody for a game. Yeah. It's $100. So let's say it was $40.
$250.
We would have a way different discussion. It's $100. It's like, well, I'm saying if you already have 150. Sorry, I should point that out. But then it's $250 for the. It just makes.
Dude, it's beyond like Blizzard or whatever you.
It's beyond everything, and I mean it sucks, and I wish it didn't happen, and I hope that whatever happens occurs. But these guys, anything like this is remembered forever. We've seen it. People will still remember the one time Microsoft tried to raise something, and they raised it for like a day, and then lowered it, and people, 6 years later, are still like, remember that one day when they tried to raise the price by $2? It's this kind of thing is remembered forever, and then the good, every choice. You already get people being cynical, even if you do offer good stuff. So the moment you don't, that, and there's nothing wrong with being cynical, but that investigative, inquisitive idea turns to an investigative, cynical idea. So that the stuff you're excited about turns into, oh, what are they trying to do versus, oh, what are they trying to do? I mean, just the inflection of the words is what changes. And that sucks because they had all positive, man. I mean, not all positive. I want to take that back. I mean, it's not that they had all positive. It's that people were generally invested even when they screwed up. There were people. It felt like
they were.
There was
fully on board, right? Like
the whole Russia-Ukraine thing happened, and people defended them because they love the game. They love these devs, and they're like, they have nothing to do with this. They're making a good game. They're doing something good, So people and the streamers and everyone who plays Tarkov advertises it. They're walking advertisements. They tell all their friends about the game. They the community loves the game, even though they complain about things and there are issues with the game, but when you're funding a game, you want to see it succeed. You want 1.0 to be good. You want feedback to the devs. You put your money and on a promise. They sold you a promise. They didn't sell you a product. That's just what's wild to me. It's not even in 1.0 yet. They didn't even make good on their promises, and they're doing all this shit.
Super chat from Dev Guy Ron25. He says it's a feature, not a bug, a unique feature. Yeah, for $100, right? Kenny G, welcome to being a member of the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Thanks for the super chat, Game Dev, as always. And I would say that I don't know how they're going to come out of this, but I love the games. Also, thank you for the super chat. He says Tarkov makes no effing sense. $250. F off.
Remember, people were pissed about Star Wars and Dragon's Dogma. They ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem, right? Man. Is that I don't know, man. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't from many angles because it's a jump. It's a massive jump.
Yes.
A lot of times game companies, it's like what we were talking about earlier, generative AI using and then changing, where other AIs can create their own stuff. Like generative AI is like looking at something and changing. It's like these guys used a new version of AI and just said, let's go to 250. It doesn't even build on the price of anything. It's just
they're playing
out there.
around. They're taking advantage of their kind of hardcore survival systems that, like, hey man, these are extra stash spaces. This is extra stuff like this, but is it really pay to win? You know what I mean? Like, they're really skirting that line. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, they are, but the pay to win thing is now over as a discussion
it
for
is pay
them.
to win.
It is now changed to, well, I mean, the big discussion won't be about a gun ever again. It won't be about inventory, or a big discussion won't be. It's always going to be there. It's like, look at Unity. They had so many issues that people left and they had to figure out, and they're still, I mean, they'll never come back from it. They just won't. Or if they do, it'll be like No Man's Sky, where the first thing you say is, man, that sucked, but. And it's nice to not have a but. And I think with Tarkov, it sounds weird, but I think with Tarkov, there was no but in the discussion. You were able to just, for the most part, say, Tarkov is this, and that's what you get. There wasn't any, but. And now there is this one that is just over the top of everything. Forever. Man. Forever. And as an indie, right, they're indie?
They're individual.
They're indie.
Yeah.
As an indie dev, that sucks. Go ahead, so.
I think, like, for me, though, like, the $250 price point is, like, so absurd that it kind of numbs the whole thing, because it, in some ways, to me, it makes it less insidious than the incremental stuff. Because the $250 price point to me is so easy to say, oh, that's grotesque. I'm never even gonna get that. Whereas with the little incremental shift stuff that so many others do, where it's so easy to, like, get into the rhythm of it, of buying it or whatever. Like, to me, that's still a lot more insidious or nefarious to me than something that's like this obviously and absurdly grotesque.
But I think that their aim with the 250 is more at their own people. That's why
for sure.
It's insidious.
Yeah.
So, like, I think the 250 is more like people going, what the hell?
I mean, it wasn't to say that it wasn't to say that it isn't insidious. It's actually because, like Absi described, like, there have been promises made that are not broken. But to me, like, it's just that I wouldn't necessarily rate it for me as, like, the worst thing, as something worse than something like Ubisoft does or whatever. I think they're very different things.
What has Ubisoft done that is worse than this?
Yeah, what's on the scale?
With the price point, the specific price point, nothing.
The idea of completely lying on a Founders Edition package and just treating their fans like that, who have paid large in the past, and on an early access game with monetization.
I mean, they're the ones in their initial game saying you will get everything, and now they're the ones saying you don't get this, but you, like, I get that everybody hates Ubisoft, but I get no connection.
I get the outrage, but for me, the whole thing with, like, how, like, obfuscated it is between the content you get between the multiple different editions they have. I think the fact that you still need a chart to figure out what goes where for editions for their games, the in-game stores, the constant retention and prodding from emails whenever you're locked out of one of their games for, like, a week. I get emails from Ubisoft going, don't you want to go back in and play? Don't you want to go back in and engage with the store? That, to me, is still a lot more insidious on those levels. But I mean, it's a pointless argument, really. It's all I don't really see the point in rating it. So, I mean, but it's all saying insidious.
It's just, I just find it completely worse than anything.
And I understand why.
Yeah,
I don't think we can compare those because, as you say, they're like, those suck, but it's just not in the same.
I mean, it just, the only comparison is that there is none, because it's so much more egregious that it doesn't even, like, it's just, it's so out there as an idea, especially because the way it's aimed, how it's aimed at people, what they're doing, what they're saying. See, that's the other thing, is, like, the back and forth between the devs, and then they said the other devs were plagiarizing their game. All of that
they're
stuff
doubling
was just
down
like,
and being assholes right now. Just, usually
weird,
big companies just lay off social media for a bit and let it simmer, or I don't know.
Well, we talked about this last night, that my personal belief is that more and more people, companies included, they're getting so when companies merge, you have overlap and you always have layoffs. That's just how it works. We've all been a part of a company that, you know, you get two big companies, you have overlap after 6 months, you decide, but they're laying off like community managers or what have you. Man, I don't know about you guys. I would hire the most egregiously like anti-Carrick Unity or like social manager, somebody who would not let me post anything unless it made total sense. And they should have somebody like that who's like, dude, we're not posting. You're not talking about plagiarism over here, because all that's going to look like is that you're trying to, you know, in some way shade somebody else when you guys are just, and the same thing was happening with Larian when, you know, they had their guy being like, every single dev in the world just needs to switch to Steam and suck it up, and just got destroyed. And you're looking at these people posting stuff, and I'm on social media, man. You need there's where we use a bot. Man. Just
Twitter's
be like,
changed the companies on Twitter.
Stuff.
Yeah, it became way more personal, right? They became way more.
They did. I think people bought off on the idea that more personal works, and I do not. I think more personal is it works for some, and then if they break apart mentally, it's the worst possible thing. Moving on from there real quick. We'll continue to talk about it, but I want to read this. Steven Seagal says, I love you guys. I watched the first podcast, and I'm going to watch today's. Carrick, thanks for always bringing your own ideas and ignoring any desire to get along or toe a line, even if I want you to. The idea that you don't means I can understand that's coming directly from you. Thank you very much, and I know what that is about, and I appreciate it. I know your little secret. Let's see. Let's add another super chat here real quick, and then we will continue on our sojourn into this odd discussion. Have they done anything today, by the way, while I'm pasting the super chat in?
They basically so there has been a couple things other than that tweet. There was obviously so another mobile game that is a thing is called Arena Breakout, and apparently it's an insane mobile game. Like my friend downloaded it yesterday and he was like, wow, I can't believe this is on mobile, which is basically Tarkov on mobile. And yesterday, right after they announced those that $250 DLC, essentially, they released a trailer for the PC edition called Arena Breakout Infinite. But anyways, so these
shot the gap on that. They see the opening and they're like, we'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. And then they said, taking in all homeless shooter looter with a big wave goodbye to Tarkov today, and they hashtag Tarkov. We're here to welcome you to Kimona. And then and then Battlestate Games, which are behind Tarkov, retweeted it and said, have a nice 20-minute adventure in the blatant plagiarist game, In and Out. So there's that. And then today, Nikita, who's the owner, the CEO, the big honcho, he basically was like, hello, Tarkov citizens, to honor the owners of the Edge of Darkness version, which was the $150 version, and their indelible importance and role in the EFT universe, we plan to add the following new unique features to the EOD edition: faster return of insured items, blah, 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 extra stuff, and then high priority matching for 6 months and access to the offline PvE for 6 months. So that's that was a post that was made today.
So you get,
what's
6
funny
months.
too? There was something really funny where the streamer was kind of reading. He had archived pages of the old website, and he was reading a part that said access to all unique features or something like that, or all DLC. And then after he read it, they went back and changed it on the website.
Yeah, I heard about that. They changed the actual website description. I mean, something else.
Yes.
Rick Gaffney, $5 super chat. Hello, you bunch of sexy fellas. Carrick, do you use the PlayStation Portal at all? And if you do, have your opinions changed? So I was asked that a couple weeks ago and realized I had not. So then I charged it last weekend and used it for a bit. My opinion has not changed. It is really a orphaned system that is not hitting where it should. It just really needs to be fixed. It needs better bitrate. It needs better bitrate. Like, that's your streaming. There's rarely anything that matters more than bitrate and latency. And latency is good, but its bitrate still needs more. And that's, a little bit like saying your really fast motorbike needs better tires.
I feel like
it can't run for very long without them.
Is it fair to say that's purely a software limitation? They could let you adjust the bitrate, no?
So you have you have the encoder and decoder, and you have what's going on the PlayStation where it's encoding that footage, and then it's shooting over to your portal and it's decoding. From what I understand, whatever's going on in their system is so weak as a decoder that it is just not able to handle much higher. And also, there's probably a chance that if you put it too high on the PlayStation, you can impact the FPS, just like a PC when you're using encoding and you crank up the encoding rate. You know, when you're recording something, you might notice it. But that's pretty deep in the woods. No one really knows, but it's a pretty noticeably low, just like Xbox Cloud. It's noticeably low bitrate. I mean, there's just no ways around it. You can't fake bitrate even with new versions of encoders like AV1, which is great. You still have a certain moment where it's so low, the actual encoding is low, meaning the decoder can't make stuff up. It's just getting whatever is in the encoding, and the encoding bitrate is very low on that system. So currently, we'd love to see it get fixed because I think that kind of stuff is where I game. It's weird because it's made for me, by the way. I mean, it really is. It's made. You guys always, tease me about talking about mobile all the time or streaming at home all the time. I do it a great deal. I love the idea of it, and yeah, unfortunately, it's just it ain't there, not yet, at least. So in here, Portal just restocked at Best Buy today. Yeah, the restocking debacle is also another one. But I know a couple companies looking into the supposed hard to find Portal. 45K a year as a senior artist is a joke in the UK. This is Javier saying this. I moved from games to automotive industry and doubled my wages overnight. That sounds like an ad that you see at the bottom of a Facebook post. I just realized what I was reading.
That's
it sounds
how
like
I got my
saying,
first Ferrari.
I work from home and I make $16,000 a month. Click on my link. Here's how. Never go full Unity, played by Ken says. Never go full Unity. That's a rough way of putting it. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think that they screwed up. I think that it's weird, too, that there was no hints about this, right? We don't know. There were no hints about the Tarkov thing.
There was an interview about a week and a half ago, and what he said, I went back and listened, was like, yeah, we're thinking of adding some new cosmetics, you saw the stash space stuff. There'll be some more of that, and maybe some, more unique features. He was very, he basically lied by omitting and kind of just screwing around with wording. And obviously they're Russian devs, so there's always like a language barrier there.
Yeah, I do want to always point that out. Certainly not an excuse, but there we have non-native speakers in our Discord and stuff, and there are times where things can sound a very particular way and they're not. I don't think this is it because we've seen the backing. We've seen it backed up by this delivery of this item. But man, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And I also, did you guys see that like Destiny's talking about taking some of their old sunsetted guns maybe and bringing them back into Destiny?
Yes,
some of the guns that were vaulted.
My dad told me about it. They removed some legendary guns or whatever back in the past, and they're re-adding them as for free or something.
What's the term? What are they using? So one vaulted sunsetting.
Sunrising?
This is sunrising. Yeah, we're gonna sunrise some games. I feel like with Destiny, some of it obviously was they just didn't want to support old stuff. They wanted to add new stuff. They wanted to keep the regurgitation and the wheel going of people grinding away on stuff. Some of it was technical. They stated for sure for some of their vaulting. I'm excited for Destiny 3, man, and that's not a lie. I would love for them to just be like, all right, like this is done. We've had enough issues. We've tried to do some stuff, but it's obvious this technology's old. Let's go ahead and roll out a Destiny 3. I would like to see them. I like their shooting, and that's why. But I don't want to jump back into their game and be so confused by their currency systems that or their
Wouldn't it
point
be nice
system.
if they had like because we like the shooting, what if they did like a kind of side games that are like the Halo trilogy where it's just campaigns with the shooting and single player progression? That'd be cool.
I think people think the DLC is somewhat like that, but I don't think you and I are talking about that kind of DLC thing they've done. I think we're talking more along the lines of like, I don't know. I don't want to say
games.
Real. Yeah.
Real.
Yeah. It sounds bad because I'm certainly not dissing on what they have done. Some of their stuff has been really good.
Yeah. And I'm excited for Marathon to see what they got in store. The trailer looked really cool.
Oh yeah.
I feel
why are you making that face, Carrick?
Well, there was that rumor that a bunch of people went and played Marathon, and they were like, current Destiny fans, which I think is the wrong audience for Marathon. and they were saying that it was like really bad, and so the Bungie devs had like gone back and sort of rolled back their idea to rebuild it. I don't know what's true or not on that, because it's just internet fervor. But I just don't know if we'll see anything about Marathon until they're ready to show Marathon and not get a Halo Infinite moment where you see Gary the Elite or whatever his name was. Whatever that one picture everybody took, the meme from that game where he's like, "Durr." I feel like those guys it's probably going to be a while. I could be wrong on that. I feel like maybe that would be smart, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Like, keep your focus on Destiny, and then when you're ready to show Marathon, like we know what we're doing with Marathon. I would rather have it shown them. That makes sense. But I think that's just because we're also burned out on. We talked about it before, prior to the podcast, or maybe at the starting, where Johnny was saying like his accepting of bugs, accepting of like lower level stuff is starting to, go down. Our ability to handle so much bullshit is starting to go away. Sucks too. Well, I mean, it doesn't suck. It's good. It's just that it can be really negative.
Just sometimes it's people gotta. There is no, it's not as binary as, indie developer means good, AAA means bad, big corpo bad. Sure, they do stuff, they have fiduciary responsibility, they have a lot of practices that really tread that line and try to milk everyone, but anyone can just fuck you over. Anyone can bend you over and fuck you. So
Capcom will also be discontinuing digital sales of Dark Void, Dark Void Zero, and Flock on Steam Store. And I saw that this was posted. I got to tell you, I thought Dark Void Zero, those are old-ass games. Man, Dark Void 360.
I haven't heard of that name in a long time.
Yeah, in a long, long time. But those are being basically removed. So,
okay,
just so everybody knows. And then the next thing that I saw was Gary's Mod DMC takedowns from Nintendo. Did you guys see all this? Nintendo's like, what is that about, by the way? What spurred Nintendo to take 11 years to start removing stuff from Gary's Mod?
Yeah, just noticed.
Did they just sign on to the internet yesterday? I feel like these guys are always...
Maybe, dude.
Right? Like somebody's
they're
like...
They're in the 90s, so they're still...
It could just be a lawyer who finally noticed it, I guess.
Maybe so. But I mean, boy, guys, I'm telling you, every joke we ever make...
One of the paralegals said, "Hey, have you ever played this?"
They hired a new paralegal. The paralegal's like playing it at their desk during a lunchtime, and the guy's like, "That's not our game." You're all, "Oh no, this is Gary's Mod, man. It's been in here for years." And you just,
totally.
It's so funny because the worst joke we can make is not as bad as the situation with like Nintendo being behind on everything. I would rather have not remove anything. Obviously, I'm assuming something happened, and that, like, I don't know exactly.
Anything.
I'm guessing someone uploaded an asset that treaded too close to the sun, maybe. And then they took notice, maybe. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, right. It is that way sometimes. Where,
yep,
you get that thing where it's close, and people are looking and going, and then one day it's too far, and everybody's like, "All right, we snapping."
Got him.
We got. Yeah, Venus Flytrap. It's just like, just waiting. And somebody gets too close, and it's like, we finally have them.
Exactly.
We finally have them. I was interested in this, man. Excited for it, too. So this is from CCF Tech. And again, thank you, everybody, for sitting back and watching the podcast with us. This guy says it is, Alessio Palombo, right? Alessio Palomo is the writer, says Remedy makes changes to core management team and wants to grow Alan Wake and Control into larger franchises. And they said that basically they promoted people into creative director. They've adjusted some roles inside of this. And what they're looking for is, with this arrangement, we can ensure the needed focus on growing Alan Wake and Control into larger franchises and the right type of creative guidance and support. What do you guys think that means? Do you just think it means that Control... See, we already know there's a Control 2, right?
Mm-hmm. And the Control co-op.
And Control co-op. This is just me in my brain looking at the Fallout TV show and going,
They could certainly, because they like to combine different medias.
They
So
they
if
do.
they were to
Quantum
do a
Break
show,
is a good example.
yeah, I would like, yeah, or the little mini series before Alan Wake 1, you know. So if they were to do that, they would definitely tie them into the games in some form, or do some ARG type stuff.
Dude, I'd love that, man. The more
Yeah.
control, the better. I like the, you know, what
Yeah.
it was based on. I like the creepypasta stuff. I would
Yeah, for sure.
love. I mean, can you imagine little episodes? Black Mirror, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do weird shit. Alan Wake fits perfectly in that kind
Like
of
an anthology type of,
Hell yeah! Oh yeah, the horror anthologies too. The American
Horror Story.
American Horror Story. Yeah. So something like, dude, can you imagine if they got that guy Mike Flanagan? I think is his
Like a
name.
different AWE every season or something.
Oh
That'd be
man,
cool.
that would be
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
sweet. If they, man, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That should be patented right there. That is a perfect idea. Is every single year, it's like even like 8 episodes, but every single year you have a certain number of episodes about a different event in that world.
Mhm.
Man, that's a good idea. Now I want that.
That'd be really cool. And then in the co-op mode, you basically those events, you know, because I
Play
think
out.
the co-op mode is gonna have like different AWEs that you go to and fight monsters or whatever. So maybe it's tied into that in some way. That'd be cool.
I think that idea is sound. I think Mike Flanagan, I
Yeah.
know you watch the podcast. I know secretly you're a huge ACG fan. If you could get on that, we'll go ahead and we'll you know, we only need, or Absy only needs 20% of the rights.
Yes, please. Of course. 25, but it's okay. We can
25. Let's up
discuss,
to 30%.
negotiate. Yeah.
The longer
Yeah.
you don't respond to us, it goes up 30%.
Because that'd be cool. They'd be evolving somewhat of Helldivers 2 type of
Yeah.
live service, you know, which is a good kind of live service in my opinion. And they're making use of the idea that it's a live service.
Can we all agree though that
Yeah.
this is, it's not even creeping up on us. This is here. Everything from League of Legends cartoons to, or
Yeah.
you know, the
Oh, yeah.
animes for Castlevania.
Gaming's
It's like
huge
Dragon's
now.
Dogma got or an anime. Like
Random as fuck. Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't even make sense, and it was terrible. But
Yeah,
you know,
it was
they're all,
everything
yeah.
Capcom
Yeah.
was Monster Hunter movie was
was
you know.
they? Oh, Monster Hunter movie.
Oh.
My God, I forgot
Yeah.
about that thing. Wow, that's a blast. That was Milovich or whatever. From the
Yeah.
Resident Evil
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
doing that
Mila
one as well.
Jovovich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jovovich. Let's see here. Solomon says Destiny is not anywhere near as big as COD or as socially popular to play. That is true. COD has its
God
own
is,
thing.
Yeah, God eclipses everything almost.
Ulrich says this comment is a bit late, but Deadly Premonition was one of my favorite games, and most people thought it was awful. That's not late. I don't know if we talked about that kind of stuff. You're good to go, man. Nothing wrong with
One
that.
of those games, right? It's one of those games that it's pretty divided.
Yeah, Deadly Premonition is one of those Euro, not
Like
Euro
artsy.
jank, but jank game, artsy.
Yeah.
It appealed to me. I thought there were issues with it, but I thought it was just weird enough to sort of appeal
Do
to
you
me.
like the 24 FPS because
That's what I meant by janky. It was pretty rough. And then the new thing is, so Stellar Blades N Plus was announced. So if you guys have been watching, the Stellar Blade reviews have come out. People are playing it. Then luckily I got to see some of this, but the N Plus game had come out yesterday, and this N Plus game adds a bunch of stuff. So it adds, looking here at the exact counts, let's see, 34 new outfits and a bigger skill tree as well. This is N plus, so you do have to beat the game. Also 5 new accessories and new cosmetics for some of the other characters that you meet in the game. So for a company that no one thought they were going to have an N plus game until later, not only did the N plus game prior to the game launched, but it adds a crap ton, which is very cool. I think the base game is fine on its own, but those kind of big add-ons, especially if you like to play dress up with your characters or what,
Mhm.
that sounded way worse. And I didn't mean to sound like that, but if you like
okay, you're good.
that is what I meant. But you know what I mean. Are you guys doing Stellar Blade? I know Johnny's doing it. Silver, are you going to play Stellar Blade?
No.
Not for you. I didn't assume so. Absy, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think it's for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think that fits with Stellar Blade just like it fits with a lot of the action third-person ones that aren't depthy Dark Souls, but are sort of stepped back. Steel Rising's one. Liza P is another one. Liza P certainly hinges more on that Dark Souls style, but more closely. But what do you think overall? You liked it so far, Johnny, but you haven't played a ton, right? You played like
Yeah, I've played
No worries.
something like 3 hours. I thought Absy might enjoy it, but I guess it didn't click for him. I like the setting. It takes place in this post-apocalyptic stuff and in a fairly linear exploration type of way, which for me it's okay. You know, I've just got off the back of like Yakuza Infinite Wealth, Rebirth, and
Right.
Dragon's Dogma, which is also very open. So I'm okay with that. I think I like what they did with it, and you can see the compromises with the linearity is one. The some of the textures of the environments aren't as high like definition as some of the character models, for example, which I think works really well for the game, because in an action game you're really focusing mostly on the action or the characters more than looking at this rock or but I thought they managed to have a really cool look to everything, and the animations I thought were really enjoyable so far from the enemies, and it's kind of exciting when you encounter a new enemy. There's a lot of variety there as well. At least, like, it's early, so maybe it becomes repetitive, but right now it's feeling pretty good.
I will say I like the boss design too. I don't know if you faced even one yet. I'm sure you faced one at least.
I've faced a few, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Maybe
the
not
boss
big
design.
ones.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought the boss design was really enjoyable, but the big thing for me that I wanted to point out in my review, and this is how tight people are right now, guys. To explain to you how tight and stressed out or whatever invested people are. In my review, I was talking about how the sexuality of the character is completely blown out of proportion in journalism.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It goes away in less than
30
10
seconds.
minutes. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous. It becomes you're just fighting. They don't push it. It's not like, let's say, Final Fantasy, which we've made jokes with, like, hi, Cloud, and they're leaning in. It doesn't even occur. It's just, she's a sexy robot. 10 seconds later, you're not even thinking about the robot part or the sexy part. You're thinking about not getting killed by this chainsaw/ape, mutation. But what was crazy about this, man, is I had people so stressed out when they heard the first 7 seconds of my review. They thought I was saying it was out of it, like that it was not taken seriously enough. And I'm like, first of all, you should listen to the damn thing, because I point that out. But it was that people were so quick, man. So quick to Twitch that anybody talked about it, that they weren't listening to anything. We're like, no, it's not. And you're all, exactly, it's not. It's not a big deal. It's that people blew it so far out of proportion. It's just a really good game. Weirdly enough, I paid more attention to what the character looked like in Steel Rising than I did in this. And maybe it was the walk in Steel Rising. Maybe it was the, I don't know what it was, but I noticed that more than I did in this. This is just sort of up. You notice it, and then it goes away, and it's just a good action game. It's not mind blowing, but it's a very
that's a good way to describe it. Like, it goes away, because sure, you notice it when you jump in, but I think people that look at the videos and they're not playing the game, they may notice it a lot more. But when you actually go in to play the game, it's like it's kind of off of your mind.
I removed the arrow pointing to her butt crack in my thumbnail, which was that, this game is good with some cracks.
With some
cracks.
Because
I did the red arrow as a joke. But it is funny. It is just a very good, solid action game. Not one of the best games, just a thing, And it's not really over the top. And as somebody said, BG3 is at least 20,000, 40 billion times more when it comes to sexuality and stuff than Stellar Blade. It's ridiculous.
And even the way they pushed it, by the way, they pushed it quite a bit around sexuality with the bear scene, and they made a point of that being.
Yeah. I mean,
but I mean,
luckily it backs itself up.
That's not really a good comparison, I don't think, in terms of the objectification, because those scenes aren't about the objectification of that. If you want to make that point, a more salient point would be to say the outfits they make Shadowheart wear, or would be a better comparison.
Well, I wasn't talking about objectification. I was talking about sexualization.
Yeah, but that's
sexual elements.
But that is the nature of the sexualization critique. That has been a lot of what has been aimed at Stellar Blade has been the objectification, which then isn't as much of an issue as you say when you stop noticing it. because they stopped paying attention. They don't really pull attention to it in the way that a lot of people seem to think is what you're saying. But I don't think the comparison between like a sex scene in Baldur's Gate between like the bear and whatever that's played for laugh is as being more egregious just because it's about sex is salient to the point of the criticism that has been aimed at the game. It's just what I was trying to.
Yeah, I think it's not the only criticism. That is one. It's not the one that I was addressing. I think on
Fair
that
enough.
you can look at other characters, like you're saying, Shadowheart, and even Lae'zel,
Lae'zel,
Lae'zel. They're pretty sexualized as well. And in a lot of games, we've had it, like Lost Ark had a ton of this. Black Desert. We can kind of keep naming them, and it's
Black Desert.
It's really a stylistic choice at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think also I found it interesting. You can go in and change her ponytail length.
Yeah, it is an option.
I left it long. I like
too.
the flowing look. Tress effects kind of stuff. I'm have always been into. I like that kind of thing. I just think.
Yeah.
And I mean, certainly for me, like that style choice is part of the reason why I don't really have an interest in playing the game, because it just make me roll my eyes. For me, like I can't take it seriously at that point.
You do have a lot of like different outfits. A lot of them cover her like completely.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to just change,
I need her in a nun outfit, or I'm not fucking playing the game. I swear to God.
A nun outfit or a non outfit?
A nun outfit.
I thought you would enjoy this one, Abzi, because the combo system is very enjoyable, man.
Yeah.
But I also didn't play Bayonetta, for instance.
It's more reactive. Like I'm not in the mood. There's so many reactive games and like blue laser.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
I just want something, because even after Dragon's Dogma, man, like I just want something more, unique than.
It's funny because I love it that Johnny, while you were gone, said exactly the opposite, and he likes it because it is different and it's more linear. And
but
for the
it does have
games.
Some of those.
No, I'm
same
just saying
elements.
that's how two people can come off a certain number of games, and one person can be like, "I'm done with it," and somebody else can be like, "I'm not done with it, but it's fresh because it's different." And so you get that like difference. Yeah, that's awesome. I would say for me, the linear bit helped the most, and I'm a hub fan. That's probably one of the reasons why I think it really worked for me, is because as a hub fan, there's not many shortcuts in it. It's not one of those games like Surge 2 where you find a shortcut.
Oh, thank God, dude.
Winds up and down and goes under a post and then comes out the other side.
But it takes a lot of your
come on, man.
mental...
It takes. Yeah, it's like your brain at some point is like, okay, I'm sort of tracked out of this.
I think sorry. No, I was just gonna.
What were you saying?
About Stellar Blade, like I think I just wanted more movement, like less tight, not less tight, that's not the right word, more tight in the sense of like the animations and stuff, but less rigid with the camera behind her and the movement, like something like Bayonetta or DMC is what I wanted, but it's not that, and that's completely fine. But that's why it's subverted my expectations. Let's just say that.
Silver says Eiyuden Chronicle impressions. Do you have them, or were you saying from people?
I have them, yeah.
Okay, go for it. Oh, yeah, because I watched you stream it. Of course you have them. Go for it.
Yeah, so it's finally out after 4 years or so after the Kickstarter. It's only the second game I've ever kickstarted, and the first was Pillars of Eternity. So,
oh damn,
nice, dude! I can thank you for that. Was your name on any of the walls and pillars?
I would expect so, because I did kickstart quite a bit. I have the I actually have the collector's box with all their autographs.
You were probably an NPC somewhere. I should replay that
possibly.
Game and try to find you. Yeah,
yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's the spiritual successor to the Suikoden series, and on that level, it's basically so far been about a dozen hours into the game. It's been everything I'd hoped for better or worse. It is very much old school, and it stays old school. Like there is a significant difficulty curve in the game. You have to manage your magic points very carefully. You don't get them back very easily. You have to manage turn order in the turn-based combat of the game. You do have 6 party members for combat, which is more than a lot of JRPGs give you. And you also have a huge cast of characters that you can slot in and out of the character, which is one of the amazing things about the Suikoden series. The story has huge parallels specifically to Suikoden 2 so far, with like very similar character beats and story beats, which feels fun enough, though it does make it somewhat predictable for someone who's familiar with the series. I think the inventory screen is going to be bothersome to a lot of people, particularly because it has restricted inventory slots. You only have like 30 slots for stuff in your inventory, and that accounts for healing and stuff. Though healing items do stack, but only in stacks of like 6 or so. So that can accumulate very quickly. You do thankfully have a storage that you can store stuff in when you drop by an inn or the like. Also, autosave is a little inconsistent, and sometimes dungeons can be lengthy, so you need to be careful because you might die in a dungeon and lose like a considerable amount of progress. There are random encounters. They're thankfully not, like, the frequency of them aren't quite on the level of where they used to be in the old JRPGs. The cooldown after you get a random encounter seems to be pretty decent. You can go a pretty decent length of time without running into another one. But yeah, it's pretty much everything I'd hoped for a new Suikoden game. It's just really, really sad that Murayama unfortunately died a couple of months ago and couldn't see the release of the game because I think the team really delivered on what they promised with that Kickstarter, which was more Suikoden, and that's exactly what we got.
How many years did you say the Kickstarter, or how many years for
I think it was 4 years ago.
Not bad, too. Not for a game. I think that's okay. 4 years, that's actually
also soundtrack really good so far as well. Like the orchestra, the art as well is a really nice evolution of the old Suikoden art, which used like these 2D sprites in like kind of 3D environments, and they do the same thing here in a way that feels like you touched on a bit. Feels a bit like Octopath Traveler,
right?
But it looks really, really, really nice. Like the overworld does look a little bland, but it is very colorful. The game in general is very colorful. The character art, the enemy art, also really, really good so far.
How much was it, or how much is it new? Like, if you wanted to buy it, you know what the price on that
I think
is?
it's $50.
And it's a full game, right? Like 50, 60.
Yes.
I mean, it's JRPG, so maybe my numbers are skewed.
Yeah, $50.
Dev Guy says the Pigeon finally came back with a message from their investigation. I think I read that.
Yeah,
late.
from
I
Nintendo.
think he's still talking about the old thing. Nintendo.
Yeah, that was Nintendo.
Wizard of Smoke, $2 super chat. Less video game porn, more battle babes. I would be all for that, by the way. Would be all for people just not stressing out about these things so much. And then we got a super chat from Master Peas. He says, or this is actually Discord. He says, any comedic games that you folks have played, it feels like those are rather rare these days. Wonder what Double Fine is cooking. Comedic games. If we're talking about Double Fine, there's a lot of point and clicks that hit that, I think. Harry Halibut was a little bit like that. Or Henry Halibut.
I was going to say I was playing that. It has a little bit of that.
Yeah.
If we're talking recent games, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion had a sequel that came out back at the start of the year called Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. Not quite as good or as funny as Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, but also a little shorter. But
tax evasion is hilarious, right?
Yeah.
It is in that game, yeah. But also, it's quite funny still.
I will also continue to recommend Not for Broadcast. It's hilarious. It actually has a good story, and it's FMV. And if you like editing and just sitting in an office and controlling stuff that's being broadcasted, I'd recommend it.
Also, Helheim Hassel. That one has a few more years on it now. Very, very funny. And Gibbous, which is kind of a Call of Cthulhu inspired point and click 2D adventure game with really fun
That's with
art.
cats, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I definitely remember that one for sure. I love the games. $2 super chat. I have to admit, I've never been into JRPGs. Dude, we're here for you. Therapy. You know, we're here for you. You can admit those things. You should feel guilt, and that guilt is real. But we're here to hold your hand, and we'll suggest to you JRPGs that are really bad. What's a really bad JRPG? What's a JRPG that is really everything about JRPGs and their stylistic, their delivery, that it like feels grinding and just long? Have you guys ever played one of those? I would personally say some of the Dragon Quests are that way for me.
I didn't. Couldn't get into.
I didn't like 2. I tried 2, and it was so much the audio and everything all over the.
Yeah.
No, not Dragon Quest. Sorry. I'm blanking on it. Recently, there was the third one.
Xenoblade?
Octopath?
Xenoblades.
Xenoblade
yeah,
is what
thank you.
Xenoblades.
3 was awesome.
3 was awesome.
And
2 was
1 was
not
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, 1 and 3 only.
Yeah, 2 had me like,
Yeah, gotcha anime waifus. Like, hey man, this is exactly what
I have to say. Xenoblade Chronicles 10 or X on the Wii U. I know a lot of people really like that one, which let you like move around in like giant mech suits.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to like get to the giant mech suits, but really the game completely killed my will to play it in like the grind up to the mech suit.
I think Tales of Arise also is I liked it, but it has a lot of the trappings that I think a lot of people don't like.
Especially with those conversations where they like to talk about like a color of a hair, but end up talking for an hour about it.
Yeah, and you're just sitting, sort of like midnight chat in a Discord where everybody's talking about random shit. You're like, what?
Yeah, but not that interesting. Our Discord
certainly not that.
Interesting.
That's because it's ours, right? Enchanted Arms is horrendous. Nagel says Enchanted Arms, man, I barely remember anything about it, but I don't remember liking it. Big Mac says Suicide Squad was a comedic game. Suicide Squad tried comedy. Yeah, I played it and I didn't mind it near as much as everybody else. I didn't finish it. I played it and I jumped to another game I was reviewing, but I think he really just means the situation around it. Because this comedy in a Joker DC kind of game isn't really comedy. I mean, it can be funny, but it's more, I don't know what the term would be.
Dark humor?
It's dark humor, but it's just that cynical, dirty, gross dark. Like it's like, I don't know, not gross. I should take that back. I just mean, I don't know. Like the way it's delivered isn't. I don't ever chuckle. I guess I would say in those, but maybe that's.
Yeah, it could evolve like Joker's funny in a creepy way.
Yeah, creepy. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, creepy in a killer clowns from outer space kind of way. Johnny not only had Stellar Blade, he had Larian working on 2 new projects, and we will start to see full voice acting in Japanese games. Oh, that's a question. But first, let's hit Larian working on 2 new projects.
I wanted to bring up, because I think they said they're not doing Baldur's anymore, right?
That is, yep.
Do you guys think they go back to Divinity or something different?
It would be great if they made a new Dragon Commander.
Yeah, I'd like to see Divinity, just because I think Divinity, Divine Divinity was my favorite of all time from them.
Dragon Commander to me is still like one of the most interesting games they've made.
I think it was interesting. I don't necessarily think I liked it a ton. That makes sense.
Yeah,
but
I
do.
I think definitely the real-time strategy segments of that game were lacking. But like everything in between, like with the having to navigate with the different factions, the diplomacy stuff there and whatnot, and the choices you had to make there, that was all interesting to me.
Yeah, they definitely tried different stuff with that game for sure. I think that's one nice thing about them. As somebody said in the Discord this morning, they're starting to sound like old men on a hill right now with all of their they're like pushing a lot of it's worked for us, so everybody needs to do it our way kind of thing, and it's already starting. I saw some oh man, like this is starting to get weird. But I would say all their games there's something about that. Divinity Original Sin and Baldur's Gate certainly are closer together than some, but Divine Divinity, Dragon Commander, what other ones have they? Is that where they've stuck mostly? Divine Divinity, Divinity Original Sin. Well, they had Divine Divinity and they had another one.
Beyond Divinity.
Beyond
the
Divinity,
sequel to
yeah.
but they made it into not an ARPG anymore. You had like a team and
Yeah, that
it
one wasn't as great.
It has a cult following. It's very difficult. it's one of those games where it's like it's difficult to get through. Yeah.
That dude says he'd like to see him take on sci-fi, and that's also my dream.
Yeah,
I would love
or
to see them do
Cyberpunk,
sci-fi
or like Shadowrun, or you know.
Yeah, I feel like for whatever reason, and it's probably a valid reason. Companies aren't going for that. They're all trying to hit the fantasy section. You know, rework fantasy in their own way and stuff like that. It's like, okay, it works, but I'd like to see him try something new.
I just don't like the new hip, new fantasy type shit where it's like, you know, I don't know how to describe, like Forspoken type shit. I like the old stuff. Like Dragon's Dogma when it came, and it's like, oh, it's a chimera, it's a Medusa, it's like those old Roman Greek.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Classic fantasy.
Plumbing the classic fantasy.
Like without any caveats, like just like a classic old, you know, fantasy. Yeah.
I think the current thing now, what you might be talking about, it's also currently in a lot of literature. It's like lit gaming in gaming, which is where a character goes into an MMO. We see it in anime.
Oh my god,
a real person.
Isekai or whatever the.
Yeah, that's big, and the idea of like, oh, here's a real person going in, and what's weird is it's big, but that shit's ancient, man. Like that in novels.
I like the opposite.
Ancient.
You know,
it's
when
been done
fantasy
for
is
so
in the
long.
real world. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I would like.
Age.
I would like a game, maybe Call of Duty. You're fighting a guy, you know, because they already did Infinite Warfare. But what if you're fighting a guy, you know, you kill the dude, suddenly a griffin comes by and just routs him, and you're like,
yeah, Dragon's Godma. Yeah.
That would be awesome if you Call of Duty, you know, like Infinity, and you're just fighting, and suddenly these overlapping realities come up.
Dude.
Yeah,
they're all infinite.
I have a soft spot.
Yeah.
And then Johnny also said, will we start to see, his question to the group is, will we start to see full voice acting in Japanese games? I think you directly mean the JRPG thing, right?
So my thinking is like, because obviously traditionally they have this model where they have some voice acting for the main stuff. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you go off the beaten path, it's right?
Yeah.
And we see it even in some AAA titles like Yakuza Infinite Wealth, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the game is huge, and they've opted for doing that in some of the side content. But then you see games like Final Fantasy Rebirth, which is also gigantic, and it's fully voice act. I don't think there was a single non-voice acted line that I saw. Even the most basic NPCs in the background, they had something to say. So we see that. We see also Final Fantasy 16 was fully voiced. I know that those are all Final Fantasy, but I'm just wondering.
99% voiced.
Was it? Okay, yeah. So is there a trend, do you think, where they are coming around to embracing the full voice acting, or is it still the exception to the rule?
I think if they have resources, right, they would.
I've actually been surprised by the amount of voice acting that's been in Eiyuden Chronicle so far.
Oh yeah,
where really it's only like the minor characters, the very minor ones, the tertiary ones or periphery ones who don't really have voice acting. So I think it's definitely becoming more prevalent. But whether we'll see the push to like cover those last couple of missing percentages, that I don't know.
So Abzi brought up a point about resources, and then like Silver's saying, in particular, he's talking about a game that was kickstarted, had 4 years, and maybe there's something to that too. I would also agree that the resources are big, and we just recently saw a couple Japanese devs saying that they always feel behind compared to Western devs when it comes to technology. But one place that the technology exists is a voice. So I could see Japanese devs and other devs who maybe in the past haven't had voiced looking at that as being an equalizer. I do think that for the most part, we as gamers hear voices and think slightly higher production than lack of voice. I just think that's the way it works. It's not fair. We just You see the writing, you hear the and you're all okay. And then, but if you hear a voice, even if it's somewhat not great, you're still hearing a voice to fill up that text block that's being written. And yeah, it can be bad. But in my brain, I just think higher quality. I don't even rate it as that, because I rated many a game that just had text as being high quality. For example, Disco Elysium took a while to get their voice. But what were we going to say? Go ahead.
Just I understand why. I've never had that issue for me though, but maybe that's because having played like the JRPGs from such a young age, I always had a voice internally in my head when I read it anyway. So for me, it's like the presence of voice acting has never translated into a sense of higher budget, I guess, to that for me personally.
Yeah. I just think it's because so many new people are coming into gaming and they're seeing CDs. I grew up on the Master System, so I'm accustomed to text, and it doesn't really,
but I completely understand.
I think the other thing is when it goes back and forth, it is a little bit more nerve-wracking than when it's all text. Weirdly enough, when it's like text and not text and text and not text and you're like, okay, listen, it's almost better if you took that whatever small resources and did something else with it than bounce back and forth. Because sometimes if you think somebody's going to talk and they don't, and then you don't think they're going to talk and you skip it on accident and you hear the voice start up. I've done that before where I hear the voice start and I've already hit the skip because I've read it, and then I'll be like, oh, I sort of wanted to hear that voice.
I've done that a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a good position for them to be in, and I want everybody to keep having jobs and stuff like that in the industry, but I also don't want a developer thinking they have to. I mean, obviously, there's other things. Getting the game out without bugs is more important than getting the game out with voice. Just all depends.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's more of a decision. Like they do have the resources if they thought it was important, because we see like Pokemon games. They have tremendous resources, but not only do they have technical issues, but that's not deliberate. They had problems there, but they decide to not have a lot of voice acting in those games.
Absolutely, and I think also it depends on if they're writing a bunch up until the end of the game. How do you get a person to record a slightly different voice alteration because you've decided to put "and" instead of "or"? Which changes everything in a sentence, by the way.
And when we have to schedule them to either come in or reach them through a video call or whatever.
And we're starting to see games. I'm sure you guys have seen this. There's the occasional game in the accessibility settings where it says vocal menus and voice to text. I think with AI, especially the next gens, are going to start just figuring out a way to do voice. I'm not saying they'll replace the actors. Just if there is no actors, I could see somebody, because you can engage that on the consoles currently and just use that as the narrator. I'm not saying I would like it, but I'm saying in the future when there's multiple versions of narrators and stuff like that, I could see a company just saying, hey, we don't have the money, but if you want, maybe even have an option right when you load it, go, would you like it to use, we didn't have the resources for this, but if you want it to read, you can turn it off at any time.
I think that would be the best way to implement that,
Yeah. You don't want to do that shit where it's hidden, because sometimes, this is going to sound weird, I want the option to do it and then turn it off. I don't want the option, which is different than Discord turning clips on without telling us, by the way. In my private life, I want the option to turn things on with never having it turned on originally. But on a game, I don't mind, like colors on QuickTime events. It's like, great, show me everything, then let me go and, sort of. That's why I like to start a game on hard, because then if I have to, I can set it down, but I'm already sort of skill set on the hard. Because if you start on easy and then go to medium, then go to hard, sometimes I'm
exactly.
Like, oh, damn.
I work downwards. Yeah.
It's also like voice can also just inject so much personality that you would otherwise miss. Like one of the reasons why I've loved, I think I've talked about this before, but why I've loved Ni no Kuni's English localization so much is the decision to make all the fairies in that game Welsh and to make them speak in a Welsh accent.
Cool.
And I mean, they also write out the Welsh slang and
so it all
and
feels like that's their
yes,
that's in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's their
awesome.
Like identity and whatnot.
That's
and
sweet.
so and they also write it out, but you don't if you aren't Welsh or you're not accustomed to hearing the Welsh accent, you don't necessarily know how it's pronounced. And then so to actually hear it out loud, said out loud and whatnot, that adds so much personality and character to those fairies and their little land.
That's like when you go into voice chat with Lucitan and he starts dropping "we."
Right.
These wee little suckers, and I'm like, what the hell? What is going on? Because he has, I just always forget he's got such a clean, or not clean, but clear accent, and seeing it written helps. Yeah, I like the idea of having it written out exactly as the character speaks it,
Right.
you know, versus more clinical or something like that. Even if it's slang, I would still say Outcast screwed up on the accents because they're everywhere. So you have a southern, guy who sounds like he's from the South next to a guy who sounds like he's Irish, but their little button that you press to bring up the glossary as you do it is fantastic, man. So that all that slang can mean something to you as you play, and you sort of know right away. People are saying the Discord's all up and down for them. I'm seeing it doesn't affect us. I'm just randomly happen to see that. I also wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the VR stuff, but Microsoft, it sort of on the side way of doing this, but basically Meta and Facebook have opened up the idea to non-Quest new headsets that are still going to be using the Quest OS. And it sounds like Microsoft's someone involved too, so there might be like a side way of getting, in the future, you might have VR on a Microsoft console or something like that. It's sort of in the early stages, but I saw them opening that. And then I also saw in the same news headline, Apple's device did not sell well. The $3,000. I mean, who were they selling to, man? $3,000 for a headset that like didn't have controllers at all. You just, dude, I'm telling you, Apple, they live in a different world.
You see how people stop talking about it too. Even the super loud YouTubers who are all over Apple stuff, and so many of them write, "Oh my God, Apple," and they were kind of touting it as this is going to be the next big thing. You don't understand. Here's why this will change productivity forever. And now not a single one of them is talking about that thing anymore.
I also want to point out WCCF Tech has posted in the last 10 hours that a new Dragon's Dogma mod on Nexus Mods adds ray tracing, full ray tracing and path tracing, and improves what was already there. And it looks damned good. Now, you're still going to get 45 or whatever you get in the main city, but the improvement to ray tracing using the path tracing is pretty profound. So if you have a 5090 or a 6090 somehow from the future, you could turn it on and get 60 FPS in the main city. They still haven't patched that, by the way. Pretty impressive that they haven't figured out how to fix the city's FPS in Dragon's Dogma 2. Anybody still playing that?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I went back to it last weekend and bounced around in it. Had a really enjoyable
I'll probably
time.
play it throughout the year.
But you know what you're waiting for. You know what I'm waiting for. Dark Arisen 2.
Yeah.
The 2 inning.
Yeah.
Right?
The expansions, man.
Because we can all agree, at the end of Dragon's Dogma, you could slice the world in half. You are very powerful. And so the idea of, and this happened with Dragon's Dogma 1, that DLC, I told you guys, man, that DLC, when it did the same thing, in number 1, I was overpowered and I went into that without the proper level and was like, oh, they're serious.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see what they do. I don't know what they'll do, but I'm excited to see what...
I also want something, it'd be nice to have something endless as well with like progressive difficulties.
Yes. Or just throw you into, I don't mean an arena. Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say it would be, dude, what if they did something like Fuel, where it's like a pre-generated, just infinite landscape, and it's all about you starting here, and they call it like the infinite walk, almost like Judge Dredd when he walks into the desert to die. You just start at one end, and maybe, I don't know how it would go, maybe every once in a while you can save. No, you can't save. You can just rest. You can't save, though. And the farther you go, the more stuff you get. But then, to keep it, you have to go all the way back. That sounds like it'd be hard. But I like that
what
idea.
If there's an MMO raid boss like in the first one where it's like, join in with people.
That thing was awesome. I mean, the idea of it was awesome. I liked some of it. But, I just think with Dragon's Dogma, it would be, and maybe a new vocation that works everywhere, right? Not just in the new place. We don't want that. That's bullshit. Some games still do that too, where you get something that's like only usable in some places. You're like, what the fuck? Why would I want this?
Yeah.
Let me use it everywhere. What would a new vocation in Dragon's Dogma be? What if the vocation gave you 60 FPS in the city.
That'd be a
It's
banger.
called
Yeah.
Lossless. No, I'm just joking. What is there anything you guys felt as a class was missing? Because I actually
what'd be
have
cool?
a lot of gaps I feel are missing. Go ahead. Sorry.
What would be cool is kind of like a warlock or a necromancer type summoner.
A true
type
necromancer
thing.
bringing up the
Yeah.
dead.
Stuff like that, yeah.
I thought like a battle mage type thing where, maybe you have a mace and you can heal
Yeah.
more directly.
Spell
Like
and
a
sword
paladin or
versus
like
or a paladin.
Yeah, a paladin. Yeah,
sorry.
that'd be.
Hear that?
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
Or like a mystic
cool.
knight or yeah.
Mystic-
Oh, here we go.
yeah.
Here we go. You mean the stuff from the original?
No, I was just man. I was just all right.
Yeah, I like the idea though. Maybe a monster controller where you
They
can
definitely
take.
need. Sorry.
I was just saying where
cut you off.
somehow you can take control for the entire time. You replace your pawns with
Yeah.
little goblins,
Like a
little
strategy
What
armor
if-
game.
strategy
It'll
game.
change it to yes, dude. I love that shit.
What
Um,
if, hear me out, right? If your main weapon was just you carry these heavy metal balls that you toss at people, and you
I'd
just
play
hurt
it.
people by tossing metal balls.
And they're interacting with the geometry, like some of the spots there we'd see
Yeah,
a boulder roll up
maybe.
and down. That boulder
Or maybe
killed
they
me a
even
lot.
explode
I'm
or
just kidding.
something like
They
like
Oh, a
cannonballs.
bomb
definitely-
maker. Oh my
Yeah.
God! What
Bomb
about
maker?
a trap bomb maker? Where you have different types of trap
Yeah.
and bombs, confuse
Yeah,
them.
explosive
Sorry,
balls.
Abzi, go ahead. I got excited. What were you saying?
No, I'm just saying they could definitely fill out some voids with the hybrid classes because they aren't just all nice like in the first one. So there's some,
Yeah.
Archer and Rogue can have one, I guess, which
Mhm.
would be something new and agile. And I guess Warrior and what else? Warrior and Archer, Warrior and Rogue. They could fill in those gaps.
I was just asking everybody in chat what games are excited for this year because there is there's a couple games that like we're hearing rumors about that I'm excited for if they turn out to be true, and there's a couple. I think we're all waiting for Elden Ring. There's the DLC. I want to see how that sort of pans out. There's a couple DLCs, in fact, that are coming out that I think are awesome. But I've caught myself. I mean, Stalker's probably the big one. Stalker 2.
Mhm.
And by the way, anybody in chat, as people are already announcing it, they did a
Metaphor.
they did
yeah.
a trailer today. Metaphor is the one you were talking, or somebody was
Atlas.
talking about in chat. It's like Atlas. It's like Persona but fantasy or something.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yep. With adults, not minors. But it doesn't have romance because it's not minors anymore. It's adults.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. Okay. I was like, what's he talking? I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because Persona has romance and it's high school kids. And
Yeah, Persona. Yeah. Hopefully they're all high school kids. Abbreviated Reviews says hopefully Homeworld 3. I absolutely agree. There's a VR
Yeah.
Homeworld RTS coming out as well in May. That is between Homeworld 1 and 2's stories, and it's a just VR game. So there's that too. Star Wars Outlaws, forgot. Avowed. So okay, Kingdom Come Deliverance is on there. We're going to talk about that in a second because I want to talk about what they've said. But really, do you guys think Avowed's coming out this year?
yeah.
I think we talked about that last week as well, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think so.
Unless because they got feedback from the trailers and maybe enhancing combat like they want to would probably take longer than they expected, so it might get pushed back. But it'd be rough if they push it back like next to GTA or something.
Right. Oh God, that's true. I hadn't thought about that one because anything against GTA, even if you're a fucking volleyball game, is still going to be impacted.
Dunzo.
GTA is the only game I will ever say that about either. It's there's something well more than COD. Anything. There's something about. I think GTA has so many facets to its game that a lot of people find something in it. Not everybody,
Of course,
but
GTA might also still be delayed. That wouldn't be unusual for Rockstar.
For sure,
it would not.
For sure,
It
we'll
would
see our
not be
bet,
unusual.
if our bet will pan out or not.
Yeah, we've made a bet on that one. Space Marine
Yeah.
2, of course, got delayed pretty heavily and rightfully so. So that's I'm hoping that game comes out, and then Stalker 2. People are wondering about it being delayed, and no, Stalker 2 seems to be well on its way. The new trailers, all that stuff, they're they're doing the roll up you would always expect from a company. That I guess that's the thing. Can I just point out the reason why I ask about Avowed every week is because Avowed is not doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes
I mean, I
the
understand.
absence of somebody.
I think your concerns are legitimate.
I want it to come out and I want it to be good, but I don't want to get too hopeful.
It's the only Obsidian title I'm really unsure of, man. I'm just gonna say that. I'm
well, it's a big question mark too, because this is a world they've done where, like, Outer Worlds was just, hey, it's a space game and it's shooting and it's its own thing. This is like you always say, it's a world everybody knows or people know, and a world and characters they're going to have expectations for because of past games they've played.
Mechanics like the impact of every dialogue choice in the first one impacting personality and the story itself. Like I there's a lot of stuff riding.
What about Dragon Age? Have you heard anything?
Man, that's a good point, man.
They're announcing something in March or May. Sorry.
No, by all means. So they said May is when they're announcing something for Dragon Age?
They're gonna show like a deep dive or something new. Let me just make sure of that.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but Dragon Age is so mysterious. I don't even know what to expect from Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. I have no clue. Have they? I'm not saying learned, because that sounds terrible, and people have moved and stuff. So I don't want to say have they learned. I just mean, like, do they know where current expectations are? Look at Starfield.
Right.
Starfield does some stuff. I enjoy the hell out of Starfield a lot of times, but it still is old feeling compared to the games that came while it was in development. And I'm just wondering how they're going to handle that game. Like, are they going to? Is there going to be misses in Dragon Age? What's it called? Wolf Age or Dreadwolf? Dreadwolf. And is it going to be all him? Is that what it is? Is it's about Solus or Sol? Yes.
I think he's set up to be like the main antagonist. But to what extent it'll be all about him, I think is anyone's guess. I mean, I don't remember. Did he kill Flemeth at the end of Inquisition? I think he
Dude,
he
that's
did.
a good question. I
think
remember.
He absorbed her, right? Because she was like Mistral, the other goddess. They were both the ancient elven gods. And I think he absorbed like her essence or whatever at the end. Inquisition.
Yeah, so I know it's about him and all that. He wasn't really my favorite character anyway, so we'll have to see. But
I like
Solus will be the main antagonist, but there will be a bigger threat, Sailor says. Okay. Oh, Sailor says yes. He absorbs her, or absorbs her power.
Yeah,
I liked her. Cantankerous says would like a new Jade Empire. Yeah, Jade Empire. I think they've been pretty clear that they feel. I don't. That there was some problematic stuff now in today's current society for Jade Empire. I replayed it. I'm like, it's so tame, but whatever. I just don't think Jade Empire will be made.
Anything from BioWare anymore. I don't even hope for any game from them.
You just basically wait for them to deliver it and hope.
Not even hope. Like I just I'm like, oh, it's a BioWare, another fuck up probably. Like I'm that pessimistic about BioWare. Yeah.
I would say I'm pretty close. Yeah. I'm apathetic. I wouldn't say I'm expecting it to be bad or anything. I'm just like, what was their last big game that they did
Anthem, right? Oh, that was
added.
You. Mass Effect 2.
I did that thing where I had air in my lungs and I didn't breathe it all out.
I think it was probably Inquisition. Yeah.
Yeah, Inquisition was all right.
That's not even a track record. That's one race when you started. And no one. It's been a long time.
Because the two last games they did were Andromeda and
Anthem.
Anthem.
Yeah. Well, they did do the MMO as well. Did they do the MMO? Like some team did.
No, the MMO was. I don't think it was a different team. It's a little like ESO, I guess.
Gotcha.
In that way.
Like a B team.
Yeah. Kermazajin says, do you guys have a favorite ancient weapon? Hell yeah. I like the old stick mace. Ball at the end of a stick, like the not a flail where it's on a chain. I like just a stick with a giant thing on the end, whether it be a person's head or a piece of metal. What about you guys? Any like?
I would still argue that the ultimate weapon is still the spear. There's a reason it's served for over 10,000 years. That's like the mainstay.
Sorry, rapier is my favorite by far. But yeah. I mean, for sure, effectiveness. A spear seems to be like usable in all situations. Even
it's hard to beat the
people
reach.
Figured out. Yeah. Well, it's not only reach, but it's like when you see the people on YouTube who've like learned how it used to be used ancient, even close. People figure out ways to trip people up and stuff. It's pretty cool. Hammers all day. Abbreviated reviews says. What about you, Johnny?
Sorry, I was muted there.
It's all right. Ancient weapon. And it can be from games, by the way. You know, it doesn't have to be. It's just what's an ancient weapon. Can't be a gun from a game.
Yeah. I think spears are always cool for me. They're not like ancient, but.
Well, they're pretty ancient.
I mean, they go back to the Stone Age, so they are
good.
pretty ancient.
Yeah, or they could be like a mythical spear, oftentimes too. That
true.
type of thing from mythology.
Oh yeah. So. Yeah, like Odin's.
Right.
Robert says, have you guys checked out Vermintide 2's content? Man, I haven't checked out Vermintide 2's content.
They added more progression
Game.
systems.
Yeah.
They made it better. They added more outfits you can earn and stuff through achievements. And
sorry, we're saying Vermintide, not Darktide, right?
Oh,
right. He's talking about Vermintide.
I'm talking about that. Okay, there's new content for Vermintide. Damn.
Yeah, Vermintide still got updates and stuff at some point. I don't even remember the last time I played Vermintide. I love it, but I just don't have time to go back to that. Sure, I mean, I would with friends. Like if people are hanging out and stuff, I would definitely go. Steven Savage is saying that the best ancient weapon is STDs. That is actually quite true, by the way. But let's hope it's not used as a weapon. Slingshot.
Yeah.
Dude, you ever seen those videos on YouTube where somebody will use a slingshot, like an ancient slingshot, and they're binging things like 60 yards away, and you're like, damn, can you imagine? You see some guy, you got your spear and your mace, and you're all, dude, I can take a boom.
Yeah.
Your best friend.
What was always terrifying to me was
David and Goliath.
Blow darts.
Blow darts were terrifying,
so silent and...
Yeah. On the other hand, a blow dart's accuracy is, inside of a barn. You'd be lucky. Yeah.
It's so funny because in games they are OP weapons.
Assassin's Creed Rogue, you blow dart
or
from like 800
Dark
miles away.
Souls in the in the freaking what's the freaking place that everybody hates?
Blighttown.
Yeah.
You have the annoying guys with the blow darts. They can hit you in the dark from miles away. Meanwhile, in real life, try that, try a sling.
I like that. Next time your house is invaded, try the blow dart.
You'll see it sucks. Like there's
guys,
no accuracy.
Especially if you literally suck and inhale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All my blow darts had the anti where it had the lip, so if you had to push it in super hard and then it couldn't come back in because kids are like to get ready to fire it. Like,
or anyone who's tried a real slingshot too. I mean, those things suck, man. You can't do much force with them unless you have a.
I messed around with slingshots for a long time, and you can get crazy accurate with like the longer ones that are on your arm.
Proper ones.
Yeah, proper ones, or the have you guys ever seen the ones where they throw like the spear chucker? They have the spear in the sling and they use it to get extra distance, and that shit's like a missile, man. Just and if there's 10,000 people,
basically like a ballista almost.
Exactly, and the odds of hitting somebody quite high. If there's a bunch of people there, you don't really have, as long as your range is true. You're like, we'll worry about that later. Yeah, that kind of stuff is awesome. What else do we have for this gaming podcast, other than the idea?
Manor Lords came out.
Yeah, Manor Lords came out. What about it?
And people they're good reviews. I thought I was literally gonna buy it because I really just want to play it. But I realized it's on Game Pass, so I might just do that instead. But it's also 25% off on Steam. So, and I also it's one developer or a couple or whatever, and support them. I don't know. Decisions.
I mean, the decision to download it isn't too hard. You should probably do that.
That's true. Yeah.
I think you'd like it. I mean, it's definitely doesn't have it's not full.
It's not complete.
Yeah, but it's definitely enjoyable. I think that there's that, and then there was a couple other early access games that have popped in the last couple days that I want to check out. Some smaller games, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
we also have amazing new EU legislation that passed this week on Tuesday.
What is that about? Because you said it impacts gaming in some way.
Yeah, it does. So for like the past, I want to say like 5 years, the European Union has been working really hard on like sustainability, like enacting like sustainability measures for goods in Europe. And like this Tuesday, they passed a measure for basically the for what they call the eco design regulation, that new goods within the European Union have to measure up for, and like goods have to get like a digital passport where users can go into a web portal and see how they measure up to like stuff like warranty and stuff. There's new stuff with warranty that they have to live up to, being repairable, upgradable, recyclable. Like for instance, smartphones have to be designed with a greater ease of changing their batteries so that you don't necessarily have to switch your smartphone out. There's a right to repair, where you get better repair support for your electronic goods. And like it could affect everything from like gamepad controllers to video game consoles and stuff that have to measure up to these new enactments from the European Union. I can read.
So it's somewhat of a consumer protection kind of overall.
It's very much consumer protection mixed with like sustainability and a focus on recyclable electronic goods, so that they don't just get discarded and they don't just run obsolete very quickly.
While you're looking that up,
and they just passed European Parliament this Tuesday, and so now it's moving out into the national parliaments of each European member state. So now it's up to the national parliaments to pass it into law in the next 24 months. So it's still a ways out. Because that's how the European Union works. But yeah, it's in motion.
Screwball, $10 super chat says, I'm itching for a new Battletech. Yeah, so am I. I've been doing a little mech worry, a little Battletech. I like my mech games. I'd like to see more of those. We passed something here, the right to the no compete laws. Did you hear about that? America basically kiboshed those, so no compete laws are sort of
thing. That the FTC did that, right?
Yeah. So that people understand really what that would mean is like when you quit a lot of times or leave, you have a no compete, says for the next 2 years you can't work directly for a competitor. It looks like that. With laws, I don't want to say it's been kiboshed, right? Because the moment I say that, somehow it'll be rolled back, or somebody will, there'll be some thing that ends up making it not real. But yeah, no compete clause for games is sort of a big deal. That does happen. What I would like, listen to this. I would love if there was a way to fight these patents for like the Nemesis system from WB, where they patented an entire system in a game, where I don't mind patenting the technology, the hardware, but when you start packaging just a game idea and then patenting it, it sort of
sets a precedent, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because this is just a tangent, but Watch Dogs Legion, Watch Dogs is supposedly done. This is like Ubisoft. When they say anything's done, it's not done. It just means they're not currently engaged in that IP currently. And Watch Dogs is a part of that. But Watch Dogs Legion's idea of their social system was something I would have liked to have seen get a sequel and fixed and adjusted and improved. And that was the only other one I know of. I know Nemesis is supposedly in the new Wonder Woman game, but guess who makes that? WB, of course. So it's like, I want especially when AI starts being used more in game systems and machine learning for those, I want that stuff. I want the enemy. I was telling Abzi last night, imagine, like, or maybe it wasn't Abzi, it might have been Void, but there was this discussion we were having about how, a game learning from what you're doing, and I know Phantom Pain
that was us, yeah.
Yeah, Phantom Pain is brought up. But I would just love it if you guys fought a boss and, the myths of you being a great sword fighter caused him to wear different armor than the myths of me using a great bow, and I show up and he's wearing different armor and he does different. I just like the idea of that. And I think that a lot of companies are worried about, walking over a patent, and that sucks. It's a patent for what? You have a patent that basically says the NPCs can't learn from you. Like, that's ridiculous. That seems like such an overarching, uncontrollably vague patent. It's like, no,
Yeah,
we
that's
can.
what a lot of patents are like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we need, and patents are good to help. Like, it is good. It is good. It's just the overarching ability to, not.
There are downsides and upsides.
Yeah, and of course, I want the upsides to benefit
without the downside.
me.
Yeah.
I don't work for WB, so I want Nemesis in everything. I want Nemesis in fucking Tetris. Carrick's not very good at those L-shaped blocks. Let's throw some at him. I just love games adjusting to us. Dynamic difficulty I enjoy as long as it's done well. Have you guys ever noticed a game with good? Go ahead. Go ahead, Silver. You got that?
Just so I have a quote from an article about the legislation. Technically, this is an amendment to the current Eco Design Directive dating back to 2009, expanding its scope that currently only covers energy products. It also establishes new design requirements to limit the environmental impact and increase reliability, reuse, repair, and recycling. The new regulation will apply to several categories of products, and the Commission will have the power to extend the ban through delegated acts. Brussels will prioritize high-impact categories, including those involving textiles, especially clothing and footwear, furniture, including mattresses, iron, steel, aluminum, tires, paints, lubricants, and chemical, electrical, and electronic products. The regulation will introduce for the first time a digital passport for products, aiming to provide information on the environmental sustainability of those placed on the single market. On a practical level, this will be an easy access label, which will allow people to consult information on the sustainability of the item purchased. It will allow consumers to choose sides. I hope always on the side of environmental protection. The European Parliament member who has been the lead sort of pusher for the legislation, Andrea Moretti, said.
Well, I'm all for that too. I mean, unless it affects me, and then I'm not. I'm just joking. I am, for sure. The more, things we cannot destroy just means if I ever do have some kids and ever do get of age, they wouldn't have a absolute shitty world to live in.
It would just be nice if we had water that actually had fish in them again.
Yeah, right. As somebody who's dad owns a fish plant, I can tell you I was seeing that 25 years ago or 30 years ago. I absolutely agree there. To hinge on some good notes, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is 1 million sold.
Damn.
1 million sold for that. What is that? What are we calling that? Is that an early access? What are we calling it? What is it? Is that an early access game?
It's an early access roguelike, yeah.
Man, good for them. Unfortunately, in bad news, People Can Fly canceled their. It's Bulletstorm Studios. Project Dagger was canceled. The publishing deal got pulled by Take-Two. So I don't know where that leaves them. There were people wondering if that was a side game for. Shoot, I can't remember. But there was a thought process that might have been a side game for something. But yeah, Deep Rock Galactic, man, good for them. 1 million, and Deep Rock Galactic itself sold like hotcakes, right? The original Deep Rock Galactic. Didn't that game do phenomenally well?
It certainly developed a really strong community. I don't have specific sales numbers for it, but it certainly developed a really strong community and was a success for the company. Yeah.
I think those guys sort of know how to. It's still Deep Rock, the Survivor game is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know how to just.
And the personality and the character of it. Yeah. And the atmosphere. Yeah.
That's why I'm really excited for the. Do you guys remember the shooter? We talked about this before, so you guys remember the name prior to. Oh, Void Bastards, the sequel to Void Bastards.
Yes.
I'm really excited for. I like the games that just sort of hinge off what you've already liked, different fiction, that kind of thing. Very exciting to see that.
A new twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody been doing anything artistic lately? Any kind of books, music, movies, shows, weaving, knitting, ironwork, forging, sex work?
I watched.
Doesn't matter. You watched what?
I've been working on some music, but I also watched Dune 2 finally.
Oh,
the movie.
good. Yeah, you liked it, I assume.
I liked it. Yeah, the pace of the movies are a bit slow for me, but
Right.
I liked it more, I would say, than the first one.
I would
do
agree
admit, though,
wholeheartedly.
I kind of understood that thing you were telling me where, you know, and I don't want to say exactly what it is because it's technically a spoiler, but
Mhm.
the way they kind of zoom in when they're showing the protagonist do this, you know,
Right.
writing thing, and you know, I do wish we saw more of the, you know, what's really happening there versus the
zoomed in, almost like a
full-on,
shaky
like,
cam when
pubic.
Steven Seagal
Yeah.
fights. Yeah, pubic level.
Yeah.
I overall, I think it was highly enjoyable. It was definitely better than the first one. I thought the first one was really pacey.
I liked seeing the protagonist fight a lot more. I thought that was a cool development for him to be much more active and come more onto his own thing.
Angry Hippo also said he's a member for 1 month. Thank you for being a member. Again, anybody who becomes a member, you can join. You'll be able to join the Discord and chat and role play, not the sexy kind, normal role playing games with us. Jump in, watch some streams. He says, "Did you guys see that the FTC is reinstating net neutrality?" I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to see how these adjustments are going because I feel like some of these are those ones right before an election where the changes are occurring, you know, hot and heavy. And then afterwards, everything's rolled back. That's just sort of how government works. I hate that idea. And then I asked everybody what they thought of dynamic difficulty earlier. And Kig says, when it's an AI dynamic difficulty, not just keeping everything at the same level. Yeah, so level scaling's out, you know, everything else. Screwball says, hey, Carrick, your green screen is messed up. Okay. It's always messed up. I don't think my green screen for the last, 10 podcasts has been full green screen. Ross, but thank you. Nonetheless, I do know, well aware, and that's just we're the best gaming podcast. That's the high level quality you get. Rostam says ACG, the original Max Payne had dynamic difficulty, I believe, where if you were breezing through the game, it'd make enemies tougher.
I don't remember that being a
I
thing,
do
especially
not
because
remember
you had specific difficulty levels you could choose in the original Max Payne. So
Yeah.
I don't remember that being a thing.
Not arguing with you, Rostam, or not saying you're for sure wrong, but I don't remember that at all. But I if it does, that's good because I do like it. Jay Reaper says dynamic is okay, but I do like the idea of some games being really difficult. Not only beating it if you really work hard, but not every game has to be difficult. Yeah, I get that, and I didn't mind. Well, I mean, I do mind it, but because I want the DLC. But you know, some games are power trips, right? You get to the end, you're just,
yep.
You are the man. Which is cool. Question for you guys. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go.
I just don't like I never liked the idea of dynamic difficulty, especially in the sense of like any scaling being done. Other than
scaling's not the same. I do not either.
Yeah,
Agreed.
or
What
like
about-
the only scaling I would like is like, oh, you have a friend or co-op, now enemies are tougher or something like that.
Right.
But that's it. I don't like enemies leveling up with me. I want levels to mean something and better player skill to mean something as well. Yeah.
What about dynamic difficulty in the sense of, say, Left 4 Dead or Vermintide, where you have like an AI director like adjusting?
That would be great. Yeah,
as you're playing.
Like surprising you. Yeah,
right.
that'd be really cool.
What
Yeah,
I don't like,
100%
man,
that.
is the shit where goblins are hard level 1, goblins are hard level 50, and you're all because it just I want to walk into a house of goblins and have them being like, oh crap, it's Carrick. I do not want that level 1 goblin who's cooking a human flank on his fire.
Yeah, the shirtless goblin suddenly can hit for like your whole
yeah.
I like the idea of I think those AI systems are pretty good. Left 4 Dead did it. Back 4 Blood does it. Sometimes it can feel a little I can tell when it's going to happen. Does that make sense? Like there'll be an ebb, and
also sometimes the RNG just screws you over completely.
Yeah, bro. There were times in
3
some
tags on top of each other, or and a witch, or
like
whatever
a
for
spit
Left 4
witch,
Dead.
And just when you get done, everybody's doing that. And then it's like again. You're no. I mean, I guess that's in some way
part of it. Yeah,
that's part of it. Yeah, but it's a part that could definitely get long in the tooth. Dynamic difficulty in MLB The Show is pretty nice. Dynamic difficulty in MLB The Show?
What is MLB?
It's Major
League Baseball.
I'm just trying to figure out why a shitty pitcher would magically get better or something. I mean, I wonder what the. I don't know how it works.
I remember, as I recall, it adjusts. Like if you start hitting a lot, it'll adjust so that it makes it harder to hit. And if you start missing a lot,
different pitches, I assume.
Yeah, and if you start missing a lot, it'll adjust the difficulty in your favor. And if you start throwing a lot of pitches, then striking guys out, then all of a sudden it'll be harder to strike guys out.
That would actually piss me off because in a game I want my skill to improve, and the only way to do it is to
have your skill improve.
Have a consistent level of challenge that you're trying to meet, as opposed to it just
arbitrarily raising it,
bending over for you. Yeah, like
I do like the idea though of how in basketball and in many sports somebody will call a timeout to, for example, in football. People call a timeout to to basically ice the kicker, make them have to think about the kick longer. Yeah. And I don't know how well that's handled in these sports games. So anybody who's playing sports games, that kind of stuff does work even on me as a gamer. So if I'm in a vibe, right, and I'm like, running touchdowns, and I'm like, yeah, and getting ready for a kick, and they're like timeout, and you're like, you son of a bitch. I do like that, the mental dynamic difficulty.
Or you get like a good pep talk from your coach and you're fired up. You're like plus
Guardians
20
of the Galaxy.
accuracy.
Come on, guys, huddle up.
Yeah, huddle
up.
The
huddle up in Guardians of the Galaxy was awesome the first 11 times, maybe.
I agree with you.
After a while, I just want the bonus from leveling up.
Stopping the action to say some shit. Just no.
And it was the same stuff. I found, we talk about Guardians as being excellent. I really do find it excellent. But I find that the repetitiveness of that was noticeably.
That was a small thing.
Yeah.
But still, I didn't like it.
Where you distinctly notice that one thing happening more than you would like. Moving on from there, we got another one. I think this is also from Screwball. He says, I hate when games, this is a super chat, and again, thank you for the super chats. Screwball says, I hate when difficulty comes from complex controller combos. Pisses me off.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, like man, I don't know.
Directional inputs.
I think I'm going to be what is it? Who's always Sweden? Are they the ones? No.
Sweden are always evil, yeah.
No, you're Switzerland. You're being neutral.
Switzerland is what I meant. Yeah, I think I'm in the middle. I think sometimes complex.
It could be implemented
combos bother me. Yeah,
well, it also depends. Right? Like, what are we talking complex? Because DMC is not like at the end of the day, you're not pressing that many.
You have to be frame perfect.
No, I get you there, but that's more of like a precision thing. When I hear complex, I'm thinking lots of buttons like a fighter where you have to, you have the D-pad and all the buttons.
So there's two types of complexity, really. The complexity of the buttons and then maybe the frame counting or perfect timing.
Like the precision or something. Yeah.
Or both, because Street Fighter and even Devil May Cry.
I like a lot of fighting games that are about, boy, that's true. I am going to be Switzerland because I guess if it's done right in my world.
If it's done right.
In my world.
I agree with that.
Some people won't agree with me on what world I think, but
yeah. If the game is about that and it's done well, it's great. But in a game where maybe it doesn't feel like that complexity is necessary or something, like if I'm playing Dragon's Dogma 2, it's not the case, but if I had to, do like 6 button combos just to play Warrior.
Like Monster Hunter, you wouldn't like that? I don't know, but like, for example,
Abzi, just real quick, you just brought up Monster Hunter. Strangely enough, this fits what Johnny said, because didn't Johnny say he's okay at Monster Hunter, but he would never be the top?
That's the thing about Monster Hunter and Devil May Cry, which is nice, is it's as complex as you want it to be. You don't have
and you can
to
still
engage.
win.
You can still win.
Basic bitch still works.
Basic
awesome
bitch still
looking
works.
Bitch also works.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
I think Monster Hunter, I did not appreciate it until Johnny said that maybe 2 weeks ago. But when he brought it up, I was like, what do you even mean? Because I thought you were really good. And then the realization that the skill ceiling is for speed of taking something or for the exactness.
Yeah.
You can optimize a lot of stuff in that game, yeah.
Which is the opposite of Arena, the car game.
Oh, yeah, that one is like...
Where I jump in and you can tell you're really not going to score much unless you are high, and because if they're high and you go in, they're just gonna destroy you. I don't think I've accidentally scored on Rocket League very often.
Yeah. Oh, dude, never.
It's a ridiculous
exactly.
skill ceiling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is Lucitan saying some dudes in Monster Hunter World deserve choreography awards. Oh, I see what he's saying. Yeah, for pulling off those yeah, I guess no, man, I agree with you. I didn't really think about this too much until Johnny brought it up, but I did watch a couple videos, and you definitely see. Yeah, you can beat it by just hitting one button. It'll take you longer, but then you got those people who are doing. What's the one hard? I consider it confusing, like their horn or the insect glaive. I was never good at those. What's a high tier? Yeah. What's a high skill ceiling weapon in Monster Hunter?
I would say the great sword, like the main sword. That Johnny plays is definitely
great sword. What's the charge transforming weapon?
Oh, that's the one I was talking about. Gun glaive.
The shield and sword one, or not the shield and sword one. The gun fucking
the hammer. That's a gun or something.
You can tell we definitely play Monster Hunter daily.
Switch axe.
As Silver's just listening to us going, we've gone off.
Switch
We're like a machine gun. Oh yeah, switch axe. Okay,
I think switch axe is a little bit easier than the sword, but you also have you gotta know when you can abuse, like when you can do your full combo.
Yeah, it's also very deep.
It's like what you said. Yeah, it's like what you said about Stellar Blade, where it's like you have a smaller opening, so you go for this, and a big opening.
That's funny because I think we said every word in the English dictionary.
Charged blade.
Before we finally got to
Gunlance.
I forgot at this point.
All their names are so. I don't know.
And then there's like the longsword, which is like very easy, but then if you want to engage with all the parries and counters, it can be pretty difficult and fun as hell. Though
there's something I like. Something I feel magical about saying, "Here's your basic bitch weapon," but actually.
Because there's depth to it.
I didn't know about those mechanics that made it so fun for me until I watched the video. So I would go in, longsword is just this, and then I saw more, and I'm like, oh, this is my favorite weapon.
I mean, the longsword looks like a sword in Dragon's Dogma when you first play it. That's as deep as you think it is. You're like, all right, it's just a big sword, and then you see people, really
going crazy with it. Yeah.
And you're like, cool, apparently. I suppose that's what it would be like if we thought we were masters because we played some games and went back in time against somebody who had fought people with broadswords. And you're like,
there's levels to this shit. Holy.
Yeah. Suddenly you're just like, I picked the wrong guy to go against. Boom Blade. That ain't real.
That ain't real.
Boomer Blade. Boomer Blade.
Now we're just saying words.
It just shoots out. It just shoots out insults at young people. It's like, you're absolutely terrible. You need to work harder. Like, no, it's my weakness.
You millennial beta cuck.
Yeah, that would be amazing, actually. An insult, a game where you just fire insults out of your gun.
That's like a Saints Row weapon.
You know what? I mourn Saints Row's death a little bit more than I thought I did. Yeah, because we were talking about GTA in the Discord and how GTA 4 was pretty sort of serious and Lost in the Dam a little bit. Battle Gate Tony was a little bit. Those are pretty serious games. And then Saints Row was sort of the cathartic.
Yeah, parody of a parody.
And they had the fun. And then they somehow went even more unfun.
Like PC.
In their last
like
super flat.
Wait, what are you catering to? Like,
it reminds me of Eddie Murphy when he had a kid.
And then we got Agents of Mayhem.
And then we got no mayhem ever in that game. It's the most rote title in the world. The name was even wrong, but
it's kind of like when you try not to upset anyone. But then you also don't cater to anyone. It's like you're not interested
and you're trying to be so overly unracist that you end up being racist by treating people.
It can happen in those games really easy, especially because of how it's worked. Or don't want to be sexual and you because you're going the other way. It's like actually, you go into a sex store and it's just movies instructions on the Kama Sutra and you're like, this is weird. This like makes me feel almost like there's an uncanny valley and there's something creepier going on behind the scenes. But no, I was just ruining it because, dude, they had good weapons. The dubstep gun, the purple dildo is what we talk about is funny, but it's like, that's sort of whatever. That's, but they had the truck you could shoot poop at people from. Like, funny things that you're just
Some
like, dude, this
good
is
ideas
goofy.
there.
You know?
Yeah.
The dubstep gun making people dance and stuff was just like, what the shit? It was fun. It was fun. And games sometimes lose it, man. They sometimes get too serious. Like the new one was so.
That's how I feel about a lot of sci-fi series.
Yeah,
like they became way too serious. So they became so serious that the only one I really, really enjoyed was the one that's a comedy, which is Orville, because it made me feel more at home with like classic sci-fi. You know
so
what I mean?
Everybody in chat, what's a game that you guys feel died because of its desire to cater to everybody and ended up catering to nobody? Everybody in chat. And I'm going to read the super chat real quick. There is. Sam Torres, $5 super chat. Thank you as always, man. Fantastic Four people that speak the weekend game. Don't know exactly what that means. Does anybody?
We are the Fantastic Four.
Oh, I thought he meant the movie was PC. I thought he meant the movie was PC, and that they'd be like, "What are you doing on the weekend, Buffy?" Because that is the generic. Like when you meet a friend you haven't talked to in a while, and they're like, "Has it been raining?" And you're all, "Dude, come on." If you're asking me about the weather, we haven't seen each other for 4 years. We need another 4 minimum, if not forever. Yeah. Like we should be, something more in depth than that. Suicide Squad killed. Oh, Suicide Squad. Project Cars 3. Man, I was a big Project Cars fan. That sort of fell apart.
Yeah, so was I.
What about Gotham Racing? Do you remember that one? Or what was it called? The
Gotham Racing,
Xbox.
Right?
Was it Gotham Racing?
Yeah,
no,
that was a little
right. It was Gotham.
I also really liked
Xbox. I think.
I also really liked Need for Speed Shift before Project Cars. 1 and 2. Those were quite good as well.
Like Need for Speed Underground 2 and like Midnight Club, like those goofy.
Even
just
Carbon
fun.
had its moments for me.
Yeah.
But Need for Speed Carbon.
Yeah,
those games.
Paradise.
And you're just driving and cops can pull you over. You just listen to music on your Xbox 360 because you can put music on it.
Yeah, a lot of
Town Madness.
Just stop doing games because of maybe GTA or something. There's just there's no sub games.
Yeah, well, I think you're also paying. We're paying the piper for the worry that competition will kill you, so they don't do it at all. It's like somebody just decides, oh well, we're not going to compete at all because some big companies out there.
It's also really, really, really hard to do a racing game. It's
really hard to do a game at all.
Yes,
but
that in itself, but racing games
unfair.
specifically,
Because you have to pay
even
the IP
harder
too, right? Right, Silver? You have to pay the manufacturers for the IP.
Well, yeah, if you want to do like an officially licensed one, but you also have to then model like the driving and the road and whatnot, and you have to decide on a driving model. What are you going to do? Arcade? Are you going to do sim? Are you going to do a mix? Where are you going to put the mix? And then people are going to respond depending on where you put that mix, and it's just
Can I point out?
Even look at how difficult it's been for like the 2 huge major like sim, Assetto Corsa and iRacing.
Those on PC,
like the development of those hasn't exactly been super smooth either. So I mean it's hard. That's one of the reasons why you don't see it a lot, I think.
Big Mac didn't do a super chat, but I want to point out I also felt this way. He says, I was disappointed Project Gotham Racing had nothing to do with Batman. And that is not, you are not the only one who's actually stated those.
I can understand.
Screwball, $5 super chat. The sad truth is games die. Still missing TIE Fighter, Free Space, and a bunch more. Free Space was the shit. And by the way, I believe Free Space's source code was just released by their dev. Just like last week, wasn't it? 2 weeks ago, I think. Free Space, they gave out their source code. Long time after it's probably useful to people. Final Fantasy.
Do actually think we did get a decent homage to like TIE Fighter and X-Wing with the
Squadrons.
Squadrons from EA. I thought
way better than I expected that game to be.
Yes, same.
Straight up. No DLC. I don't think still anymore. They just said here's a game, and it worked in VR. It was it was strangely enough a good game. Fallout. Somebody felt that Fallout's fallen off to the side. I can see that with 76 people thinking that. Let's see. What else are people mentioning? Forspoken. Forspoken wasn't an IP, so I don't know how it would kill. I was talking more along the lines of a series, I guess.
Also, we're mentioning we did get the Dark Forces remaster as well. released
did you play that,
a
by
month
the
or
way?
so ago. No, I haven't had the chance yet.
Me neither.
But still really want to. Yeah.
And you heard System Shock 2 didn't sell great, or System Shock 1, sorry, remake, or right, that's what it's called, System Shock 1 remake, didn't sell very well. So we're not going to get another one of those. That is too bad. That's a good game. I mean, that is just legitimately a very good game today, plus a good remake. Just one of the... Ooh, Battlefield. Would you guys agree with Battlefield having been, like is Battlefield fallen?
Yeah. Yeah, they used to, man.
Yeah? You think so?
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
don't
100%.
I don't
Fair.
necessarily think it fell because it tried to please everyone. I think it fell because
Yeah,
of
no. It's just
other
I don't know.
factors.
Yeah. Just bad decisions. They used to release like every year, right? Or every 2 years.
I think
Pretty
every
much.
2, but it was definitely more cohesive structure of the releases, and they felt like they're discrete things. Now, I can't even tell you sometimes when you guys are talking about Battlefield, I'm like, was that 105? Like, you know what I mean? It's really
and now
hard.
live service, it's like they went with that route of just
Well,
like
maybe
updating.
that's a means of catering, going to the lack of the single player. Wasn't it Battlefield? Yeah, one of the Battlefields had you drop into people's lives for a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Was that one? Even though one is after all the Battlefields.
The World War one and World War and the one after that, the World War II one, had you kind of just experience some story from like 3 different characters. But one had a really cool intro where they like, you went into World War One, you lived out different lives, died, went to the other, but it was just like an intro, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it was more along the lines of, here's how to play the game so you can play our service game.
Yeah.
You know, versus here's a single player campaign. And I got to admit, man, this is straight up, I do believe this. I mean, you look at Modern Warfare 3, and I feel that short campaign was sort of the same thing. It was like, here's a short campaign, 3 hours, just so you jump into our
Now
multiplayer.
go play the multiplayer.
Yeah. That to me is like, I don't know, sort of bothersome. Forrest, if you are a patron, you can follow the FAQ on the patron page. Just look it up on Google for joining your Discord and your Patreon if you're at that level. Let's see.
You know, the
Virtual
game
Fighter?
I really, really want a sequel for, the World War, still like the best World War II game I've ever played was Hidden and Dangerous 2.
I was wrong. Hidden and Dangerous 2. Okay. I thought you were going to say Bad Company. Because I always see people talking about Bad Company. Really,
Bad Company wasn't World War II though. That was still a modern shooter.
That was like guerrilla tactics, like spec
Where
ops
were you
type
based
people,
in that game?
Mercenaries or something.
Oh, Mercenaries. Okay. Oh,
Something like that.
Mercenaries. There we go. That's
Weren't
a
they like
series I wish there was another of.
Yeah, they were like infantry groups of, some money stuff. It was I forgot.
Contractors.
But it was definitely contract, like PMCs type. Yeah.
The PMC storyline, I think, is really touchy now because they're everywhere in the world. Like at the time, PMCs were a little easier to be like the shadowy group, but now because of all the stories and
like
it's
companies,
like
company
not so
based.
much. Yeah, not so much. Yeah, it's like not as. It's probably going to need a couple years to cool off.
Bad Company. It's in the name. EA. It's in the name.
That is true. Bad Company is technically in the name. Well, so is Battlefield, and it didn't have a lot of battles, but at least single player. Hell Let Loose, Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Mercenary 1. I thought Mercenary 1 and 2 was great.
And 2. I love Mercenaries too.
They did open world gun, like just chaos pretty well.
Yeah, dropping down stuff. I miss also like Freedom Fighters, all those random. Yeah, I miss a lot of those.
I always get messed up. Fighting Force is Ken Levine.
Yeah,
Freedom Fighters is the 4-player
like the third person.
Freedom Force is Ken Levine. Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Freedom Force.
Freedom Fighters is like you command people. It's like a retaking. What is it? Like you recruit people for the cause. It's like a resistance type thing. Your base was in like the underground.
Yeah, I'd love to see that was an
too
as well.
IO interactive game.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
Those were the days, man. What's overall? Is there any that are on the come up? Like where like we've saw a second or third game,
a franchise.
Really, like a franchise that's. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like the game because I don't like the thing it's involved with. But I gotta say, MLB The Show is pretty friggin' sweet. I've been watching people play that in the Discord for the last couple of weeks. I'm all, dude, that's a step up. Like that feels like that's
I
a
mean,
genuine
I used to
improvement.
love playing the career mode in that game as a pitcher, and just like closing out an entire no-hit game in that game
Mhm.
was
Felt
so
good.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
And
if
then,
there was a
and then when you were
series.
down to like the 8th or the 9th inning, and then you got the hit, and
There's nothing worse than
heartbreaking.
pitching
Yeah.
right at the end and hearing the crack, and you're like, God damn
Yeah.
it, you know. And I mean, sure, there's times where you know it's a fly ball or something, but there's a lot of times where you hear that hard crack, and you're like, yeah, you hear that hard crack. That is not pushing drugs.
To your question, though,
Where's my relief? Because I know where this is going now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out. Go ahead, Johnny. What were you saying?
there is Fable 3 making a comeback with the Fable series. We don't know
Fable.
anything yet about the game,
Fable
but
4.
Fable 4.
It would be
it
Fable
was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. You can ignore 3.
Yeah.
I did
Pretty much
play it.
everyone does.
Yeah.
Let's just call it Fable
Yeah.
3 all over again.
Fable 2
You mean
was,
Fable?
was a
Yeah,
lot of
Fable
fun.
2 was
It's
pretty
interesting
good.
though that we haven't seen any gameplay yet. Like
I
we
I
saw
don't
that.
like the direction they're going with. Yeah, I guess we didn't
No.
see much anyway. But
No,
I
it's
Yeah,
just-
we didn't see
CGI.
it.
Like we have no
it
clue
was
what they're,
CGI.
you know.
It's just
It,
like
it was mostly the impact of seeing like that actor is there in there because a
That-
lot
I
of
like
people
that
like him
actor.
from IT Crowd,
Yeah.
right? So they're
But
like,
I felt like
oh,
they're literally doing what we're talking about, like milk toasting. It just felt a little bit, I don't know, less soulful, like less. It's kind of.
are games like Fable games? I haven't played any. Are they like?
No,
Yeah,
they
more
are
the
they
Saints
are
Row
they
of
are
RPGs.
they are very milk toast. Like they're
You
the height
think
of
so?
their
'Cause I
humor
thought
is
the
they had
farting and
style,
sex
man.
and all that
I
stuff.
thought
I
they had-
felt like they weren't.
I mean, they
thought
did
they had
have
their
they
own
did have
style.
sex, but not in. It was kind of in an
Well, it wasn't
in
gratuitous
a
or anything.
somewhat raunchy kind of way.
Yeah.
I didn't mean like milk toast. I meant like it lacks style. Like I don't know. I thought they were pretty unique games still, even though they were.
I
Yeah.
did too, I guess. I felt
They
two.
definitely were
Two,
unique.
1 and 2. 1 and
They
2.
definitely
Yeah,
were
like
unique.
Yeah.
I am not worried
Okay.
about the CGI. I will say that. The CGI means nothing to me because I mean, obviously it wasn't done either. The CGI, and we, you know, different companies are hired for the CGI. It's not the company making the game.
Yeah, true.
So I'm just like, and I also don't care about the actor being in there at all. In no way, just like Idris. If Idris is in whatever Phantom, what was that one called? Phantom Liberty.
Mhm.
Whether he's in it or not, that's still a good game. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like the actor being in the CGI to me was a waste of everybody's money because it didn't
Oh.
tell anybody what Fable was either.
No,
was,
it didn't.
Like you guys said, it was like, hey, look who's in Fable, and you're all, so?
But do you think it's?
And we don't even
because-
know if he actually is going to be in
We
the game,
don't.
or
We have
if
no
he
clue.
was just featured in the trailer. Yeah.
What were you saying, Johnny?
Do you think it's because the actor isn't a particular actor you really like? Like if
Nope.
put
I don't care. I like
Okay.
Keanu Reeves. I don't care that he was in Cyberpunk. He's in it, and I like him in it. But Cyberpunk, whether it was good or bad, would have been Cyberpunk good or bad based on the gameplay,
Yeah.
not on an
'Cause-
actor being in it.
because I have that with movies where I hop to movies because of an actor. So, you know, let's say I like this actor. There's this new movie. The movie itself, I don't know much about, but I know this person is in the movie. Looks like a cool
Do you
role.
do the same with games?
I'm gonna
Like
watch.
if an
But
actor is in a
games are
game, you buy a
interactive,
game
and
just
movies and
because-
shows
Yeah.
are passive.
No, I don't know.
think
I'm
that's the
bringing up
thing.
the question because now we're starting to see that more and more. I wonder if that is a thing that people do.
personalities is the least of my
Yeah.
thing. It's just if it's the acting is good, that's what makes the
That can
acting
help,
good for
right?
me.
If they're a good
Yeah, yeah,
actor,
yeah.
it can help. Johnny, I would say that I see where you're coming from, but I think that because shows are passive, I am showing up because they're
different-
delivering. Where the game
Yeah.
I'm delivering, as
Yeah,
the
yeah,
gameplay,
yeah.
I'm delivering whatever, and then I'm seeing these interspersed moments of this person. Which, by the way, I
Yeah.
grew up with. Sega Genesis threw in Buster Douglas or Mike. You know, it's like, but Mike Tyson's Punch Out is still a good game, and we
Yeah.
know they removed him from one version. It's still a good game regardless. At least I think so. I think a lot of times when they do movie stars and stuff, they can add because they're good actors for sure. But also a
Yeah.
normal actor could have also
Let-
probably done more.
I
even.
think the only
Let's just-
time I ever bought.
Well, let
a-
Abzy go because he was saying
go
something.
ahead.
Then you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
No, it's
Abzy.
okay.
So we don't talk. Over.
No, I was just gonna say let's just put it this way. If I had the choice for this company to put resources into funding for an actor or the research to make the game better and mechanics and gameplay and stuff, I would choose the gameplay and mechanics rather than like a famous actor.
Yeah.
It's like
I think
the
everybody
most
probably
extreme
agrees.
binary. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I was just going to say that's the most extreme binary, but I think everybody
Yeah.
agree. I mean, that makes perfect sense. What were you saying,
Sorry,
Silver?
go ahead, Silver. Sorry.
Just, I think the only game I can never remember buying for
actor.
knowing what actors were in it was a game from the 90s called Toonstruck, which was a 2D adventure game. It starred Christopher Lloyd and Tim Curry.
Oh,
and Christopher
damn.
Lloyd had a live action performance in it. Like he was in FMV cutscenes, like playing an animator who gets sucked into his own like created animated world. And then Tim Curry was like the megalomaniacal villain of the like cartoon world.
You know what's weird? You guys did prove one point that goes against what I had said. If The Expanse is doing The Expanse, I want to see the real actors. If Back to the Future, I want to see Michael J. Fox in Telltale.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes sense.
You also wanted to see like the MCU actors in Avengers.
I did.
I think, right?
I
From
did,
what
but
remember.
I now I'll reverse the reverse and I'll argue against the argument against myself, which is that Guardians of the Galaxy, at least two of those characters to me are better than the TV or the movies.
Gamora was
Drax.
really good compared
See,
to
and
the
you and I
movie.
disagree. I didn't like Gamora either.
I liked her in the game more than in the movies.
That's maybe I would. Yeah, I would. I might.
I don't know.
think Drax was really
I'm very
good.
neutral about Gamora. I don't care about like,
Yeah.
Drax. Drax was like the big one for me, where I just loved the game version so much.
He did and I loved Batista in the movies. I think he genuinely had fantastic timing, man. Like versus The Rock and him, The Rock has to sell himself as The Rock and whatever, and he's almost always the same. Batista legitimately, like
shapeshifts.
Yeah, man, that was really good. And then but the game version, that guy didn't try to do exactly the same thing. He did sort of the games version.
I think that's how you have to do it. You have to do your own thing.
Mm-hmm. Rub a little dirt on it.
Instead of trying to do like bootleg.
Don't channel the other actor into what you're doing, basically.
In a way, like Avengers try to do the bootleg Downey Jr. or like, bootleg whatever.
Real quick, I want to read some chats. Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say,
first.
because Iron Man has become Robert Downey Jr., not like the other way around. So, yeah.
If they could get Iron Man, if they could get him for the game, that would matter to me, though. So again, I'm going to argue against my argument. What's the other argument? Back to the argument. Because
a lot of layers.
Maybe I'm wrong completely.
Maybe
and
there
I'm
are
just
some exceptions.
Or maybe my argument was flawed. I mean, it probably is.
Well, but that's a very special case where, like Abzi's saying, the character is so tied with the actor.
Dude,
it's
I
like
see
Frodo.
him in the comics, even though it's not him in the comics. When I read an Iron Man comic, my face replaces the drawing with him.
Frodo,
and, here's voice.
If I read the book, I'm thinking about Elijah Wood.
Harry Potter,
absolutely.
right? Is Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
So reading some of these chats, because people are talking about this right now. There was a good one here I missed. Idris enhanced Phantom Liberty, but it would have been fantastic without it. See, I think he dropped down Phantom Liberty a little bit to me. But
really? He was amazing.
I do. I don't
him.
think he was in enough to really make me go, oh, wow, it's Idris, and he rubbed anything positive or negative. He was there, and I recognize his voice, and I like him. So, but I don't think it enhanced it for
character.
Me. Yeah, it was better than Keanu Reeves, even, to me. Like, I honestly
and
wasn't
Keanu
in love
stepped it up in the expansion, though.
True.
Didn't he? Dude, I thought he had way more range in the expansion.
Sailor says the same. He says the same thing. He says Keanu Reeves saved that character for me. Johnny Silverhand is bland as a character. I think that's unfortunate because some people. Yeah, no, actually, I sort of get. Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
That's probably a good point.
He's always out there, like in the pen and paper and stuff. He's depicted.
That's what I was
going
to say, but I don't think he's talking about that. I think he's saying whatever was on the game wouldn't have.
Gotcha.
Like he elevated the game's dialogue.
It was made for Keanu Reeves, like the role.
It was.
Yeah.
And then this is world-renowned GeoHound. By the way, thanks. I saw you were in last week's chat too. He says, "I think games work that way, and honestly, don't think they ever. Or I don't think games work that way, and honestly, don't think they ever will. With games, you can sell them with game characters, but not actors. The star power in games solely belongs to characters."
I don't think they solely, because I think there are actors that are so big that you could. sell that you could sell them with it. Like if you got Tom Cruise to feature in prominently in like a video game.
Well, I think we even saw it.
That could make a substantial difference.
Yeah,
that's a good example. I would say we saw that in a smaller scale with Mads Mikkelsen in
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. I know personally some people who played the game because he and the I forget his name, the main guy, Norman Reedus. That does happen. I know it's a bit more like the mainstream people, but that does work too.
For sure. Plus, a lot of writers write roles for actors they have in mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the game from McConaughey, I have to admit, got me excited.
That's
the idea
true.
of like getting him involved in something like that.
Plus, because of Interstellar,
it's Interstellar, but it also, I mean, and same thing with Keanu. If they show excitement, I've seen it since the Xbox days when they give the Frodo or what is his name, they gave him an Xbox and he took a picture while he waved. Yes, he plays games, but I want to see excitement. And Matthew definitely, he's an actor, so could have 100% been fake. But the way he would, and the way he wants, I mean, remember he jumped from rom-coms to completely serious shit. So it's like maybe he does want to jump to games, and if he does, that pans out that he's excited for it. But somebody else said, why is Denzel Washington not in games? And I can tell you straight up, that guy's so old-fashioned, he probably doesn't even know they exist or hates them anyway. So I wouldn't want that. And I don't know if Denzel Washington, it depends on the game. If it was a murder mystery game, it might work.
Yeah.
Everybody here says we don't miss Dinklage in Destiny. And I would say
why they make those good actors as AI? Like, isn't Matthew McConaughey going to be an AI? But I guess AI at this point,
he says he is, but I don't even know if we heard his voice. Yeah, right.
That's by the way, that's what they got wrong about AI in older movies and stuff and games.
Well, let's talk about two games where they messed it up. Starfield, Basco.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Right. So when I switched him to Sovereign, that sounds the way I want a robot to sound.
Was just way better. Codsworth from Fallout, sorry.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
That was my
it's all right.
fault.
It's not your fault because I was.
You had two things.
There was two things. I said there were two bad ones, right? Didn't I?
Yeah.
Two bad ones. Yeah.
There was Starfield
Vasco?
and no, sorry. There's one bad one and one good one. And I don't think people are going to agree with me, and I said it in the review. Stellar Blade's robotic Guilty Gear guy sounds very close to Interstellar's robot, which I love that actor anyway, who did the robot in Interstellar, the walkie dude. I actually like that actor, and I think that hit really well. I like Interstellar's robot, but I haven't asked Johnny, what do you think of Interstellar's robot? Because it's like mostly human, but sounds a little synthesized. Have you liked
I still think
your companion?
The voice being synthesized and being like that, apparently, fake, that's not reflective of the technology we have even today, because we can do better already than that. I thought they did a good job with the humor thing, where he could modulate the humor and different things like that. Thought that's good.
So you don't really have any true hard thoughts on Stellar Blade currently? And that do you like
Stellar
the robot?
Blade, the guy is talking through the robot, right? If I understood correctly. So it's not like fully an AI.
Yeah.
I think it's like his words.
I think I
understand.
I don't think Johnny's getting my question.
I got it.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Well, Johnny hasn't played it enough. But what I was saying was, does it fit this robot, even if it is translated through a person and a walkie-talkie, right? Even in the future, walkie-talkies would be better. They would be digitally.
Oh yeah, just the quality of the voice, like
I think a lot of people wanted a Guilty Gear Guilty Spark from Halo. A little bit more like.
I see.
A little bit more dirt rubbed on it. I liked it. I like it so far. But I don't want to say much more. You don't seem like you want to put your foot down at all if you like that voice. I can't get him to say if he likes it or not.
I'm not sold on it just yet.
Okay.
I thought. I think it falls under the same camp of we can basically already do better nowadays.
Okay, I get
it's kind of like a bit shitty tech when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You mean if they're landing on spaceships and and they've got android people?
Yeah, they got
running
androids.
around.
They got sexy androids. Like
Let me read this super chat, and then Silver wanted to say something. Screwball, $10 super chat. He says, at some point it became impossible for anyone but Ryan Reynolds to be Deadpool. My personal opinion is that dude was born as Deadpool, but that's some of the best casting ever. Him and, like, that is great casting. What were you going to say, Silver? I interrupted you.
Just I think it also, like, depends on what the setting establishes for like
As
technology.
Yeah,
if you look at like Alien, right?
Yeah.
Which is still, where the technology is kind of still set in this like retro 70s almost aesthetic vibe.
Very much so.
Particularly when it comes to like the monitors and stuff like that. And yet you do have the androids who speak with a perfectly normal human voice. In that. But yeah, I think it depends on the technology level that you establish you have at the point, because the future doesn't necessarily mean more advanced in every area. It can be less or
that is true. Yeah,
so.
like our phones are more powerful than the computers that sent the rocket to the moon. So,
or even Star Trek's idea of what a computer is, we're far beyond that, but we're not traveling in we're not in starships yet. So there's a dichotomy.
And we don't have replicators,
and we don't. I'd replicate myself. Eric says, or Eric's a member for 2 months. He says, a member for 2 months, but following for close to 8 years. Super enjoyable videos as usual. Keep it up, boys. Thank you very much. 8 years? Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much the entire run, almost.
I am now, I've been doing YouTube long enough that kids who weren't born yet are playing video games.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that. World Renowned says, good points, gents. I would say that Death Stranding was sold by Hideo Kojima. The actors didn't push the sales line. For me, I would say it did sell one copy that I know of for Norman. I think a lot of people like Norman. Norman Reedus is sort of the poor man's actor.
Also, that argument only applies to like gamers. If you're like Johnny mentioned, if you don't have no idea who Hideo Kojima is as like somebody outside of gaming or someone who doesn't necessarily engage with gaming, Hideo Kojima is not going to sell Death Stranding to you.
Did you just say somebody would not know who Hideo Kojima is? I mean,
or
how dare you?
Norman Reedus might.
Yeah. Norman Bags under his eyes, Reedus, one of my favorite actors in the world. I love that guy, man. He's he's why I watch Walking Dead. Go ahead.
Nicolas Cage jumping into Dead by Daylight. Some people who are maybe not gamers might jump into that game just because of Nick, like to play with friends or something.
It looks so funny.
That could work.
Game.
He does, right? He does. But Nicolas Cage is the guy who's like, I'll show up for anything. One of the guys in the chat yesterday was talking about like wanting to write a screenplay for something, and I was like, just call Nicolas Cage. If you were able to get through all his agents, I bet you that dude would be like $5 to show up and
I'll do it,
play
man.
a human tombstone. I'm there. Super chat, $5 from Eric. He says, have you guys tried our Canadian delicacy, the poutine yet? Poutine.
I'm not a fan.
Cheese,
I lived in
fries,
Canada
and
for
gravy.
10 years.
What is
Is
it?
that basically mac and
It's
cheese?
just fries with some cheese curds and gravy on top. That's it. That's all it is.
So it's basically if you had them all separate and then stirred your pot
and then just
or your
stirred
plate.
them,
Yeah.
Wait. How do the chips not get soggy if they have
They
like...
do
Oh,
get
I think
soggy.
they do get soggy.
They
Yeah.
do get soggy.
Ooh.
I
I'm
know,
not a fan.
Johnny, we have a lot of people here who love to get chips and then just pour gravy on it. And I'm like, don't you just like
Dude,
gravy?
no,
Like
I
skip
don't.
the chip, skip the fries, just scoop out the chips.
Even over here, they do on the chips. They put vinegar
to keep them from absorbing gravy, maybe?
No gravy. Just chips, salt, and vinegar, and they become soggy, right? Because of the vinegar. So
vinegar.
I never understood that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I never.
I mean, that's why they'll never rule the world. Rick Gaffney, $5 super chat says, what's better if you care, super chats or gifting memberships? Super chats for sure. The thing about gifting memberships, I will point out, is great. But YouTube subscribers are different than somebody who pays to be in the Discord. And so sometimes you'll get the shithead who is being a jerk, and then they get a they get a Discord membership. So I would say super chats are definitely, gifting memberships is amazing. It's awesome, and it's very rare. We usually have usually our chat takes care of those people, but occasionally, you'll get somebody who's a troll who gets in. Johnny lives down south. He doesn't know what proper fish and chips is. This is a direct threat from Big Mac.
Direct threat. I live in London, man. For me, the vinegar can stay away from
Food?
my fries
Life?
or chips in general.
Vinegar.
I'll put it
one
in
of my
a salad, but
Oh,
carefully.
one of my friends would every day. He was, weightlifter, and he thought, I don't know why, but he would do 1 tablespoon of vinegar each morning.
What the fuck does that do for you?
Oh yeah,
I
do
don't
that,
know.
yeah.
Nearly
Apple
killing
cider
you.
vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar
I would
is
just
the
take a
same
shot
way. I
every
can't
day.
take that shit. It tastes nasty
Yeah.
to me.
Wow.
Balance some pH level or some shit. I don't know.
It's like taking omega fish. It's probably good for you in the end result, but it
Wait,
just
you
like
don't, man? Fish oil all day.
I didn't say I don't. I said it probably does something for you, but it
Oh,
doesn't. I was
gotcha.
trying to say it doesn't sound great when you hear it. Vinegar
Yeah,
in
the
particular.
fish oil burps aren't fun.
Fish oil burps or garlic. Garlic's really
Or-
good for you, but people will get the non-stinky garlic. It's stinky.
Yeah.
I don't know what they think.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah.
descenting a
Yeah.
ferret. They still smell somewhat like
They
a ferret.
still-
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we got, man? This has been a fantastic chat. We've had a good time. There's been a lot of stuff to cover. I thought there was not going to be much to talk about, and instead, this is what always
Did you guys
happens.
see that new Boston Robotics?
Yep.
No. Yeah, it's robot. The
the
weird
flamethrower
robot
one?
that like
Roll
that, like,
his legs
turn-
under himself to stand up.
yeah, and turns his head like
Mhm.
360 degrees or something.
They're coming for
There's
us,
one
Johnny.
with flamethrowers
Like The
as well,
Exorcist.
dude. There's one
Yeah,
with
the flamethrower
man.
dog.
Yeah, what the
Terrible
fuck,
idea to sell
man?
that. Terrible
Why?
idea. Terrible
Have you
idea.
not seen Black Mirror or Terminator or?
Yeah, literally a Black Mirror episode.
Have you not seen
like-
Yeah,
Terminator?
literally.
I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, it's like, can you imagine just you're eating some vinegar on your fries because you're a heathen and shouldn't be saved anyway, and then this robotic dog with a flamethrower shows up at your delicatessen.
But what's
Bad
the
idea.
utility of like turning your head full circle
Well,
in that
they-
creepy
they
way?
can do it.
What's
we
the
can to scare you. I'm just joking. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah? Like,
I mean,
what's
yeah.
the feature here?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like I'm assuming most of these things won't be held to 2 eyes anyway. So like the idea of turning the head
Yeah.
to look somewhere, a robot, they're going to have eyes all the way around. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's to make us feel safer when in real life that robot wasn't turning its head. It was just turning its outer chassis. And it was already like, I see you behind me. 360 vision. Yeah, Johnny. It's coming for
Wow.
you. Yep. Next delivery, you're going to get some pizza. And I'll be like, thank you, Johnny. $5, please.
It will speak better than that. That's what I'm
that's true.
saying.
Damn it! It will.
And then-
it will.
and then
Even
it-
low-level AI will speak better. Go ahead.
And it
Silver.
will have mistaken your order, so you get the soggy vinegar fries.
Oh, God.
You
fuck's
you wanted a cheese like a pepperoni pizza, and it's spritzed heavily vinegar all over your pizza. You're like, oh
Yeah. I'll call him Garrick.
yeah, you
He'll
should.
like come with my delivery. Fuck's
Yep.
sake, Garrick.
What are you doing? What else do we have? Is that it for us?
I do have
That's it.
Go for it.
possibly we got the update for Payday 3's new content coming probably next week. It's been 4 months since their last major content, which was a heist. And we're still not getting a heist. So congratulations to everyone who bought the season pass. They're definitely getting their money's worth. What we are getting is we're finally getting 7 months after release a quick play feature so that people can just queue up and get into a game randomly on the difficulty that they choose. That's the only setting it will sort for, but
It's a
at
very
least it's a
unique,
quick it's a
yeah.
quick play feature.
It's very unique features.
You're also getting 7 months after release the ability to skip intro cutscenes for certain missions.
What?
So that's getting
changer.
added as well. Yep. What's still not added is a kick feature. So if someone you're playing the mission with is sabotaging the mission or being abusive or whatever, well, enjoy because you can't kick them. You're also getting the ability to stay together after missions now if you're grouping together with randoms, because up until this point, groups have just disbanded after a mission.
After each mission, yeah.
So you have to reform a new group every single time. Now you're actually allowed to stay together after this new update. So yeah, great new feature set for this update. 4 months after the last one. Yeah, it's definitely not looking good for Payday 3 at this point. I don't think last Steam numbers I saw were like 150 people playing the game concurrently. So
Remember when we were
looking
talking
rough.
about series that have slowly degenerated? Payday would certainly now be on that list, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't we
Yeah.
all agree that Payday's is definitely? I mean, this thing didn't launch with even 90% of what generic 10-year-old games had, like kick feature.
No, I mean it's still. I mean, kick features missing. Also missing still 7 months after voice chat. There's no in-game voice chat for a co-op shooter. So yeah,
Makes sense.
I mean, I don't know what happened with that game.
I mean, it was only
but
2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago that they added the ability for you to unready yourself in the lobby. So up until then, from release, if you clicked ready in the lobby, you were locked in. You couldn't like, oh, I forgot to set up the grenade or whatever. You were just locked in after you clicked ready.
well, welcome to
And
Payday.
that took them 4 months to like 3 or 4 months to like.
I do want to tell everybody who's watching, please, if you get a chance, go to iTunes, Spotify, rate the podcast. I should say it every day. I'll put a little note too, but it does help the channel. It distinctly increases it puts you higher in ratings somewhere, and then those ratings later help us out. Screwball, real quick, another super chat. BGN10, he says, vinegar chips use salt in combination with acetic acid and some flavoring to mimic vinegar. No soggy anything. Sorry for sidetracking this.
Oh, he's talking about
okay.
chips. Johnny was talking about fries.
Yeah.
Well, chips in London,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, they're well,
They call it chips.
It could also, if it is chips and he means chips, then that's a different thing. So, and I wouldn't spritz vinegar on either one of them, is all I'm saying. But
You don't like vinegar chips? Like,
thank you. Yeah, we have vinegar chips here. Chips, what you guys call crisps or whatever. Yeah, we have vinegar
I
ones.
call chips. What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you? But I do want to say thank you, everybody. If you get a chance, it really does help. I'm trying to get this out. Rate that. It is super helpful for the channel. Follow the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tell other people about it, especially with the March algorithm. I didn't realize that it had hit me this hard, but it has definitely caused some issues. So when you get a chance to do that, it would be appreciated. Enjoy, everybody. I hope you all have an incredible weekend and enjoy some games. We'll see you next Wednesday. And yeah, there'll be some videos from me coming up Monday. All right. Peace out, everybody.